हाँ जी, सत्कर्तार दोस्तों, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, नमस्कार, a very good afternoon if you are, if you have an afternoon, good morning if you're just waking up, a very good night if you're going to be sleeping and listening to our conversation as if it were a lullaby. I mean, if you listen to me before you sleep, you're only going to have nightmares, those that will frighten you in the morning as well. So I am, 45 minutes delayed, and as you can see, Wajiha, as usual, she's delaying. Kade, sometimes she's missing a lipstick. Kade baal theek karan chale gayi. Kade, she's just changed her dresses like 4 times. All this Karachi nakhras. Asi Delhi wale bechare, Delhi ke dilwali teri aagya mein chalat hai. Aisi ta aagya chalde hain Rabdi, as Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj says. But this is Wajiha for you. All delays are because of her, and I'm very punctual. I'm a Fauji kid, almost became one myself, but I'm an ex-aviator, so we're supposed to be very punctual. Hey, gavaiye log, Wajiha Ather Naqvi. By the time you reach from W till I, there's a lot of latency.
BBS, you're not going to say that, bhai, but leave saying.
No, it's just BBS, Baba. Mine. If you go, it's just Baldeep is an abbreviation of a Baba, Lalla, Dada, Dadenu se hari, Dadenu be hari, Papa se hari, Sassa, Tippi te Kaga. Inna lamba na hai mera.
Acha.
Baldeep Singh is an acronym. It's just an acronym. Oh, the abbreviation pani hui hai.
Right. But can I please come and interject and tell everyone that it's not because of me, even though my friends would love to believe. I probably believe that it's been delayed because I was putting on lipstick, but that's not true at all. I have proof because I sent my pictures to people at 4:30 p.m. Pakistan time.
Why would you send pictures at 4:30 to your friends?
Oh, just telling them that I'm getting ready for a live session.
Yeah, but you never got ready. I mean, you were like taking a million years to get ready.
Sure. I'll take this blame upon myself. I'll be the bigger spirit. Pakistan always is anyway. More generous. मुल्क छोटा जो है मगर दिल उसका बड़ा है.
Hi. Dr. Madan Gopal saying that there's a lot of echo even now for him. So the thing is that there's been, we were trying to, we were struggling with the echo issue. We were doing the other, format of going live, but then I had to get her through Skype as well. But, I don't know.
Is there echo in my voice?
Yeah, there's a problem with your voice.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, there's a problem with the voice of people from Karachi.
Very convenient. तो फिर की करें ऐसी?
I don't know. Satinder says, please do improve audio. Your ma is just saying hello back to you, Arfa. It's lovely to. Oh, so okay. She says there's no echo there. You see, this is a very Karachi politics.
So interesting. This is from the other side of the border, just creating facade.
Look at that.
Line of control.
Facade. लड़ाई ता जंग बता देख ला जंग ता होएगा कराची ते दिल्ली दा आज.
बिल्कुल.
तू पहले 10 के तू गाने 6 गाए बंगाली तक गा गई तू कराची तो तुर के. तेनू पंजाबी नहीं दिखी.
बिल्कुल. पंजाबी नहीं कितनी क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में बड़ा एक परसेप्शन हैगा पहले तो कि पंजाबिस्तान है पाकिस्तान एक्चुअली.
ते पंजाबिस्तान तो हैगा ही है बिल्कुल हैगा वो.
ते उस नैरेटिव नु एक अल्टरनेटिव पर्सपेक्टिव देने वास्ते मैंने पंजाबी नहीं की.
अच्छा, मैं तेरी हुन लान लग्या पंजाबी क्लास. बोलो ऊड़ा.
ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ
ਊੜਾ
ਇसीलिए ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ. ਹਾਂਜੀ.
ਊੜਾ ਐੜਾ ਈੜੀ ਸੱਸਾ
ਸਸਤਾ
ha.
Ha ha ha.
No. It's ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha. What is this?
It's not ha ha like you
what
laugh.
Are you making me say?
This is Penti Akhri. I'm teaching you Punjabi, you silly kudi. Gulabo, tribal Gulabo. I'm just urbanizing you. So Uda.
Uda.
Eda.
Eda.
Idi.
Idi.
Sasa.
Sasa.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Kaka.
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 Kaka. K. So kaka. Kaka.
Kaka.
Gaga.
Kaka. Gaga.
नहीं कग्गा बाद आएगा सो कक्का खक्खा
Kaka.
गग्गा
Kaka. Gaga.
कग्गा
Gaga.
नन्ना
Nanna.
नन्ना
Nanna.
nung it's like nung
It's like
without
your
the
kavita that
without
you read
the
yesterday.
without the na it's nunga it's in the palate
Nanga.
nunga yeah then
Nanna.
nunga then
Nanga.
chacha
Chacha.
chacha
Chacha.
jajja
Jaja.
chaja
Jaja.
yenya
Yenya.
so
Is this
tata
like a Punjabi phonetic
it's pure
test
Punjabi
that I have to pass?
no पास नहीं मैं तेन करा रहा टेस्ट भी कर लांगे टटा
अच्छा
टटा
इन्हां दा मतलब भी
अल्फाबेट्स ने टटा
अच्छा हाँ
टटा
टट्टा
ठट्ठा
ठट्ठा
डड्डा
ठट्ठे मारे सी
हाँ
ये तो मैंने भी पता है
डड्डा डड्डा
डड्डा
डड्डा
डड्डा
टड्डा the next is
टड्डा
टड्डा हाँ अणाना
राणा
no अणाना
राणा
अणाना
राणा
like come on Madanpa you're leaving now this is not fair look at Dr. Madan Gopal says I have to leave since I have a meeting I swear but the lady's credentials are formidable and I want to attend however come on Madanpa you cannot leave us like this Anana
baby is big because you're taking revenge now na? Just because I didn't include Punjabi now you're making me go through the whole alphabet
which gala nahi karni hai khabardar nahi to minus marks
मेरी class क्यों हो रही है
Anana
राणा
like like chanan chanan is like the moon related chanan roshni chanana when I used to light things up like chanan so na and na come together so na
I thought it was Chan like the double
so
moon
chanan is chanan so na and na is the two sound different sounds
right
more heavy
right
chan so that
right
then tatta
tatha
thatha
tatha
dadda
dada
tadda
tada
nanna
nanna
this is pure nanna so anana is ana is na ana
right
so, now we say anana then nanna here is nanna papa
nanna Haji papa
faffa
what is this a never ending alphabet
yeah this penti hai na we're almost done come on have patience kudi karachi di papa
papa
faffa
faffa
babba
babba
pabba
pabba
mama
mama
ya
Ya,
Rara,
Rara,
Lalla,
Lalla,
Wawa, or
Bava,
Vava, Vava, I should be precise.
Vava,
Vava, then
Vava,
Rara.
Rara.
Yeah. So, ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੀ ਕਿ 35 ਅੱਖਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੇ. So I've taken, I'm
Oh my
disenfranchising you from that ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ 35 ਅੱਖਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ. This is pure ਪੰਜਾਬੀ, ਠੇਠ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ 35 ਅੱਖਰ ਕਰਾਏ ਨੇ. ਕਦੇ
You know, I did try and learn Gurumukhi for a little while when I was in college. I've forgotten how to, obviously, the scripts and all. But you know, it was reminding me of that, of how it's obviously such a beautiful language, but a lot of these sounds, mere se actually Sindhi in Hijrat was actually much harder to pronounce certain words. Like, you know, I was also discussing with you, unade kuch alfaz hain jo very kind of different, and only maybe native Sindhi speakers know how to take those sounds. So I'm sure Punjabi HP, you could probably pick it up, some certain sounds that I'm unable to probably pronounce correctly.
You did well. There's a confusion, deliberate one at that, because there's a lot of politics that got somehow, associated. Now, Guru Nanak's work, we talk of revolutions, right? We talk of rebellion. We talk of sovereignty. We talk of the idea of the federal structure. We talk of freedom of speech, etc. Freedom of choice, to choose from religion to sexuality to path, or not to choose a religion or a dharma, to follow or not to follow. Guru Nanak di ਜਿਹੜੀ Gurmukhi hai na, it's not Punjabi language as such. Gurmukhi is only a script. It is not the language Punjabi. What Guru Nanak did is that before his times, the kind of invaders that were coming from the West and so on and so forth, and even we look at the British, they were also, I think, the westernmost, those who came and invaded and ruled. So things were going more and more west in a way. And they were here for centuries. In fact, some of our friends from England, Amandeep Badra or others, somebody shared a photo of when in 1600 the East India Company was formed during Emperor Jahangir's time. And there was a painting when 1608, some English guy with the last name Das, must have been an Anglo-Indian, he told the Emperor Jahangir, and there was a beautiful, in fact, a very poignant caption that went along with that, saying that in 1608 or something, they presented that we are forming a company, and that you'll get money, tax, without work. You will just have to sit and enjoy the money that will come. So that's how the East India Company presented the credentials to the Mughal emperor, Emperor Jahangir, who was not a fun guy. He is the one who, had already martyred Guru Arjan Dev in Lahore in 1604-5. But the caption from that image yesterday, there's a painting of Jahangir sitting on the throne, and the English East India Company guys presenting the permission to start the company. And it noted that 250 years later, the descendant Bahadur Shah Zafar was even asking for a pension, and they starved him to death in Rangoon. So that's the irony that they were making. But what Guru Nanak did is, he rebelled against the imposition of the script. And he started writing everything in the native script that he recovered. And by the time, he was to leave his body, he passed on all the work to the second Guru, Guru Angad Dev, whose mandate was to put everything in the script as a rebellion against anything that was imposed. And imagine, across Guru Nanak traveled in entire Asiatic regions and even Middle East and beyond. Wherever there were Nanak Panthis, disciples of Guru Nanak, the Bani from Baba Sheikh Farid, without translations, It's transliteration into the so-called now what we call as Gurumukhi Lipi, but it was the native. And wherever Guru Nanak went, all his disciples were now able to read Gyan. Any ordinary. Before that, Sanskrit was exclusive. Any ordinary or a Shudra or an underserved person, low caste, could not read it.
Could not.
Gyan, even Quran was not just for everybody. They could believe and follow, be murids, etc. But it was not that it was everybody for everybody. It was not possible. But Guru Nanak, what he did was bringing the knowledge, the summary of all that was written anywhere, also, and responding to them, to the ordinary people. There was a first pan-national script of South Asia, and people are yet to acknowledge and say thanks to Guru Nanak for that. I mean, you talk of Marxists and Leninists and this and that. People are yet to re-evaluate. I mean, people valued before the late 19th century. They knew what was the phenomenon of Guru Nanak. What was he? I mean, when Hindus called him a guru and Muslims called him a peer, how extraordinary was he? It's almost like the sun and the moon. They all said, "Oh, he's ours," kind of thing. So anyway,
but it's interesting that you mentioned the script, because it reminds me also of what we often hear or read about even in the Quran and the Arabic script, that the use of certain words, and the reason there is a whole history and science behind why they even aesthetically looks a certain way, right? So the alif looks a certain way, or the bay has a dot underneath it, and that dot communicates everything about the existence of the universe, for instance. Or there are certain words jahan pe wazn kahin girta hai. So in Arabic also, or old classical Arabic, I would say, there are such sort of hidden truths that are attached to it, which not everybody possibly knows or even understands.
I have a take on that too. I mean, there are many people also in South Asia and Punjabi, especially Sikhs also, who try to, what is your mom serving you? Is it a chai or what?
No, I'm getting green tea.
Look at that. Kalle manu puchha tak nahi ke hari cha piyoge कि काली चाय पियोगे?
मेरे को बड़ी सजा देती है ना अभी।
नहीं, मैं तो लड़ाई हले तो मेरी लड़ाई
इल्जाम है तो मैंने कितने 33 से कितने अल्फाबेट्स जो है वो
35
एक मेरी क्लास की है।
नहीं 35 मतलब मैं सिर्फ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦਾਵਾ ਖੋਲਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕੋ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ 35 ਅੱਖਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਕਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਾ ਕਦੇ ਬੋਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਅਲਫਾਜ਼ ਕੀ ਹਨਗੇ।
ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ਮੈਨੂੰ even though my family members did warn me and said please don't speak in Punjabi, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ only because because they were like you need to first be able to speak it properly. ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਘਰ ਤੇ ਵੀ
ਅੱਛਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਦੱਸ ਹੁਣ ਦੱਸ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ? ਤੇਰੀ ਅੰਮਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਆਰਫਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਣੀ?
ਆਰਫਾ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ।
ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ?
ਉਹਨੇ ਆਰਫਾ ਨੇ ਵੈਸੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਬੀਬੀਆ ਸਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਇੰਕਲੂਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗਾਣਾ ਸੁਣਾ ਦੇਣਾ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ
ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਜੀਤ ਲੈਣਾ ਫਿਰ ਸੇ
ਮੈਂ ਉਧਰ ਬਾਅਦ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਕਿ your mom Arfa said ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਣੀ। ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਘਰ ਚ? ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ?
my brother। ਨਾਮ
ਦੱਸ।
my brother ਸ਼ਹਿਰਯਾਰ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਦੋ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਸ਼ਹਿਰਯਾਰ ਹੋਰ
ਬਸ ਇਹ ਦੋ ਥੇ,
ਦੋ ਜਣੇ। ਸ਼ਹਿਰਯਾਰ ਤੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਮਾ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗਾ, ਤੂੰ ਖਬਰਦਾਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲ। So देख लो दोस्तों, मैं I have outed the names, so now you know that when I go to Karachi, मेरी हुन लड़ाई मतलब उत्तर नहीं आई ना, पहले लड़ाई मैं खास करके कहांगा आरफा ते शहरयार नूं कि मैनूं लैण आओ, ते मैं नसीरुद्दीन सामी भाई साहब नूं भी नहीं कहना कि मैनूं लैण आओ, मैं कहांगा कि शहरयार ते आरफा आवे ते मैं एयरपोर्ट ते ड्रामा करांगा।
शहरयार से बड़ी अच्छी गल है क्योंकि वो रहंदे ही नहीं गे पाकिस्तान विच।
अच्छा ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਅਵਾਰਾਗਰਦੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸੁਖ ਨਾਲ
UK
अच्छा बरतानिया
he teaches, he's a behavioral economist हाँ
अच्छा
so he teaches at the University of East Anglia there
I see मतलब पढ़े लिखे लोग ने ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਨਾ ਕਲੋਨੀਅਲ ਐਂਗਲ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਕਲੋਨੀਅਲ ਐਂਗਲ ਚੜ ਗਿਆ ਉਹ ਇੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਤੋਂ ਮਨਾ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰਿਆਰ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੋਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੜਾਈ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਅੱਛਾ ਲਿਸਨ ਜੋਕਸ ਅਪਾਰਟ ਨਾਓ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਹੋਵੇ this is I'm so glad that you've done the work you've been sort of absconding and I was wondering what is the kudi up to and I'm so happy to I was so very glad in fact when I learned that you've been working on Hijrat and so really many congratulations from the entire YaarAnād family all my colleagues at the Anād Foundation we're all very happy and let's before we look at the it'll be great to sort of listen to your journey as you've sort of traveled 6 languages the choices that you made but of course I mean jokes apart you know one album you can only contain as much and every song takes a lot of work so I really enjoyed the instrumentation etc all your friends and it'll be great for you to tell some of the stories all the fun stories and horror stories from the project but I'm sure when we did your session you sang in many more languages and I'm sure with the Hijrat with the second part of the continued project that I'm sure you'll be covering more languages as many as you've worked on you're versed with rather let's start with the trailer that you've if you don't mind can we share the trailer it's just a short one and then we start our conversation on Hijrat is it okay
yes absolutely right. And thank you for having me and doing this I'm quite excited
Oh, that you're welcome to mention many times. It's okay. Abhi to shaam padi hai, kai baar shukriya karna. Here we go. Here's the trailer, folks. Man omade am, boy, man omade am. Lad shafi khawarta kamis dor mala raura, dawda za guluna jaisa lor mala raura. Jodi That is, I think my image is frozen again, but you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I think I should be back sometime soon, whenever the camera decides to get back on track. It's still not coming.
Yeah, you're not frozen at my end.
Am I not? No, because you're seeing me through Skype. That's why. Let me, sort of get myself back. Am I back? Not back yet. Oh, here I am. Hi, Paibaldeep Singh. Welcome back to the show. I'm in conversation with the one and only who did not sing in Punjabi in this Hijrat album, and I've been sort of fighting with her. So you had left, I don't know where you went, but I'm so glad to see you back. So if you don't mind, let's continue our conversation with Tribal Gulabo. So I like this idea of the trailer. I mean, just small snippets and the transition from one to the other song, almost like a DJ work. It was well done. So that who did this trailer?
Thanks to the team at E012b, which is a local music studio and record label that's just established a couple of years ago. And they're a fantastic space for musicians from Karachi able to work in like a state-of-the-art facility. And it's produced. I mean, this whole set Hijrat was produced by Mēlā, who also happens to run E012b with his team. So this particular promo was done by the video team, which includes Ayaz, which includes Osama, Siddiq, and then of course there's an audio team behind it as well that worked on the audio for all of this, all of the tracks. So that includes Irfan, Ritaj, includes Danial Panjwani, it includes Ahad Hussain. So I mean, as you know, of course, this is a collaborative project, and we really everyone put in a lot of effort to produce something like this. And including, from our rehearsals and our jams. I mean, just to kind of share, BBS, I mean, my sort of reason for doing this set in different languages. So I've an anthropology student, or I've been an anthropology student, and I'm interested in learning more about issues of identity and culture and language. And so I've always been listening to, songs from the region. And with you as well, that was one of the repertoires that I wanted to sort of share. And you, in fact, encouraged me to do that. So I thought, why not, document this and, in fact, bring out a lot of these regional songs and kind of, especially at a difficult time like COVID, where, we're unable to perhaps meet each other or be able to travel. Let's go through like a sonic travelogue, right? Let's break these boundaries that we've now been imposed upon us because of whatever colonial rule, or because of current modern day conceptions of what countries are, and because a lot of the languages are spoken across the border but across the region even. So the reason for selecting certain songs is because there's an overlap in those songs that are heard across the border. So, Man Ahmadem is heard here a lot as well. It's heard in Afghanistan as well. It's sung by an Iranian singer. And Punjabi di gal tusi kar rahe ho, ye bhi ek, even though Punjabi is of course on the list, but I wanted to kind of go towards a slightly more alternative perspective Punjabi, because majority of the population in Pakistan is Punjabi, biggest, most populous province, and people are generally familiar. Even the songs that come out, in fact, Coke Studio HP hamesha ye debate hondi si ki why are most of the songs always in Punjabi, for instance, right? And of course that's a debate that that's good and encouraged to be had, but other ethnicities and other ethnicities also feel that they should also be adequately represented, so to speak. So that was also some sort of kind of course these I wouldn't ever say, and there's a lot of languages, like you said, to be explored, but this was possibly a reason why I didn't decide to go with Punjabi in the first sort of volume. And inshallah, of course, I want to continue to do this project. It'll be an ongoing effort to document certain select songs and more popular songs, popular poetry. So that'll also be there in the future. But that's just sort of the philosophy behind why I wanted to do Hijrat. And the name itself, in fact, someone was asking my mother, why is this name Hijrat? And, perhaps it's very sort of religious and sacred, because our Holy Prophet took this journey from Makkah to Medina. That's what the term Hijrat is associated with, when he was being persecuted in Makkah, and so he traveled to Medina. And then also there's also a spiritual ascension that took place, which we call the Shab-e-Miraj, which is when he traveled the seven skies. And, people often, to get the closest to God, right? These are like kind of what's associated with Hijrat, that he did a Hijrat spiritually as well. So, but Hijrat in Urdu also means migration, travel, So, and ultimately, all of us have traveled, perhaps your families have traveled across, one side of Punjab to the other. And, my family has, I know, traveled from Iraq and Iran and eventually settled in South Asia. And of course, Peshawar, my mother has links from Peshawar. So, I mean, we've constantly kind of been migrating. And I wanted to, kind of reiterate that sort of sentiment. Because somehow identity has become so fixed and very contained in today's times, or what it's associated with. So I just, wanted to break those kind of stereotypes and boundaries. And I'm not saying this hasn't been done before. Of course, this has been done, but this was completely new arrangements on these songs, which my friend Jasir Abro, who played the rhythm guitar on it, he helped arrange most of these tracks. So they were literally stripped down, and myself and along with other fellow musicians, we literally rearranged all of these. So you won't find perhaps, a lot of these. Maybe you'll find original recordings, but there'll be different versions of it. But we decided to do our own versions of them.
I see. And the other is that, one of the very moving, takes for me, and a very pleasant surprise, was the presence of the name Bhagat Kamar Ram. Bhagat Kamar Ram is a legend. He was martyred by the fascists, and the feudal lords, and he's a legend beyond. He was a mystic.
Yes.
He was neither a Vaishnav Shaiv. This guy was a mystic. He was cross. He had a pan-religious, pan-dogma, pan-ritual, reach. And what a voice he had! I mean, this guy is like singing in the Tar Saptak, and his Lowly Deva is one of my favorites. I mean, it's just extraordinary. The idea. I don't know if people have.
It almost transports you, right, to this transcendental, which is exactly what his poetry also stood for.
Yeah.
So it takes you into another realm, and bilkul, matlab unki bhi. I would like to say that Sindhi, as his song was in Sindhi, was probably one of the hardest sort of languages for me to do. As I mentioned earlier, certain sounds phonetically are really difficult to pronounce if you're not a native speaker. So they have this b and h sound that they take out together, right? Which I tried really, really hard. So I apologize if people, Sindhi speakers, native Sindhi speakers who hear this and are, not convinced that it sounds very authentic. But I sat with people. My sister-in-law is also Sindhi. So it was interesting that I sat with her aunt, who actually is a teacher of Sindhi literature. And so she taught me through this. So it was also interesting to see that, I spoke to a younger generation who perhaps may not had been even familiar with the works of Bhagat Kamar Ram, right? And it was a kind of a collaborative learning process for a lot of people. Like, oh, this is my language and this is, part of my own heritage. And so we all kind of learned together in this journey. So my sister-in-law helped me translate, as all the translations actually, I've kind of done them myself from help from, of course, the internet and from people that I spoke to. So this was one such process, and I really enjoyed that process. And that's one thing that I would want also people to know, that, each song I went through a very extensive process of trying to, pronounce the words properly, but also to be able to find the exact translations to the best of my ability, and document that. And Bhagat Kanwar Ram ki उन्हां दे कलाम जो हैं उनकी पुरानी recordings पढ़ी हैं, and Abda ji has done perhaps a rendition, a very nice one. So I also had to take some sort of creative license that, which sort of version do I try and do. Right. Or even certain words, for instance, I had to make certain creative choices. And this I did also based on what, was being advised to me. Kar baaj baniyate kar meher goliyate. This is something also that, for instance, वो कह रहे हैं कि मेरे उत्ते मेहरबानी करो, खुदा नू कह रहे हैं कि मेरे उत्ते मेहरबानी तुसी करो, ते ये भी एक था कि गोलियाते अल्फाज है या डोलियाते अल्फाज है, राइट? सो इस तरह दी मैंने फिर I had to make some sort of I had to take certain liberties in that sense and go with what people who were experts in this were suggesting to me. So I'm not sure even if that is the right sort of thing to have done, but I just took those liberties.
I see. So actually,
very nice. I like how you've made use of this time by
I was only getting bored listening to you, so I thought I'll do something useful.
Colorful.
I was only getting bored listening to you, so I thought I'll do something useful. I mean, anytime
of course, how can the conversation
anytime you don't
BBS?
Speak about Punjabi, I mean, you lose me.
I know, I just said that. How can the conversation not be about BBS, right?
I said Punjabi.
Same thing.
Come on. I mean, I'm a Punjabi supremacist, yes. I mean, I'm a sworn, but it doesn't mean that...
trust me, no one can tell, BBS.
Nobody can tell. Right? And there's a technical reason. It's because my yellow, the light, was burning. This side, because of the lights, it was burning.
Achha.
So I was thinking, what do I do? So then I saw this turban lying on the side. Color hega, yellow nahi hega. This will react differently.
Right, right.
So I did the makeup.
Do you have a range of pugs next to you that you can suddenly just
I'm on my desk. Sometimes I, Lake Mēlā rakh and I'll just take it off and keep it here.
You have to teach me also one day. How to tie one.
Yeah, there are many styles. Acha, I have there was one other thing that I did when you were boring me to, silence. But I was surprised for everyone. It's because I dug out, I searched, tick, 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 and I have my favorite, Loli Deva of Bhagat Kanwar Ram. Why don't we, I don't know if you can, you won't be able to hear it here, but others would, because we're maybe, everybody's glad about the sound, by the way. It's because my speaker on the laptop was very high. I think that was taking the microphone, my external microphone was taking the sound from that, maybe. So since I have reduced it, everybody's been saying now it's better. So,
so the fault was at your end. Just reiterating.
Sunaya nahi, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤੋਪਾਂ ਚੱਲੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਕਰਾਚੀ ਤੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਇੰਨੀ ਸੀ ਡੈਫਨਿੰਗ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਲੇ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦੀ ਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨ 'ਚ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ. ਅੱਛਾ, let's listen to Loli Deva. Maybe you might be, let's see, maybe you'll be able to hear some. Just a minute. That was Punjabi mail from Jeff Campbell. I ended up pressing that. But this is people, what Wajiha has done, I think, for me personally, the feature of Hijrat is that she has evoked the memory of one of the greatest legends of our land. From the land of the 5, 6, 7, how many rivers you want to call them. It's Sapt Sindhu, 7 rivers, but all those who drink the waters of, from Chana, Chann to Jeda, now Hove, I mean, the waters which are owned by the moon, Chanab, Jhelum, Satluj, Byas, Ravi, Sindh, सरस्वती ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਾਇਬ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਗੁਪਤ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸੁਰ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਰਾਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਰ ਗੁਪਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ 7 ਪਾਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਬੜੇ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਹੋ ਸੁਪਰੀਮੇਸਿਸ ਕਹੋ ਸਪਤ ਸਿੰਧੂ ਦਾ ਬਟ ਸਾਡੀ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੀਓਗ੍ਰਾਫਿਕਲ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਐਜ਼ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਸੇ ਆਈ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਦ ਹਿਸਟੋਰੀਕਲ ਐਂਡ ਦ ਜੀਓਗ੍ਰਾਫਿਕਲ ਪੰਜਾਬ सियासी वंडा खंडा करते I have nothing to do. I'm like the air and the sun and the moon. मेरी यारी ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਯਾਰੀ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਤੱਤਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ ਪਾਣੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੋਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਔਰ ਭਗਤ ਕੰਵਰ ਰਾਮ is one of the greatest masters who walked on the soil here and his memory to be for me when you talk of Hijrat to travel back in time, and of all the people, there's so many. Like the way I see from a musicological perspective, and when you're journeying back in time, even from an anthropological, even political, whether it is the politics of languages, for example, which Wajiha has rebelled against us Punjabis by not including anything, but but anyway, the idea of politics, but the journey to choose of all the possibilities that she had in front of her on a desk, to have chosen Bhagat Kanwar Ram in the first in this album, for me it meant a lot. I mean, her album had me at the very thought. And tell us about this. Is my affiliation, my fondness and my respect towards Bhagat Kanwar Ram is what I've stated. So tell us how you, what does it mean to you? Why the song that you chose? You mentioned how you worked with your sister-in-law and others in the family and friends to work on the pronunciation. Because even if you're from the same area, language changes. Like Punjabi also changes. What was spoken by Baba Sheikh Farid may have altered a little by the time it reaches the times of Guru Arjan Dev, 5 centuries or 4 centuries later. And then by the time it is now, Punjabi may have had its own newer incarnation. So even if you're from the area, it does not mean that you will automatically be able to pronounce the Sindhi or Old Punjabi, Saraiki dialect, because there's nothing called one language. It's like a shade. It's like a hue of blue. Let's say it's blue. It's Punjabi, but it can be so many kinds of blue, depending on if you're almost where Braj is now beginning. That Punjabi would be almost Braj, but not quite. It'll be Punjabi, but not quite. So for any person, any person of letters, even before it overlaps, it just flowing away. It's like the mountain, it's not the tip anymore. It's not merged into the other. It is not yet the other mountain. It is not the lowest point of the other mountain, but it's still this mountain. It's still Everest or Sumer. But it is not the peak no more. It is not a high point. It's not a low point either, but it's still the mountain. So what I want to share with friends is that when any person of letters, like when Wajiha is looking at, let's say, poetry of a song that was sung by Bhagat Kanwar Ram. So when she's mentioning about pronunciation of certain words, is an anthropologist, is a musicologist, is a scholar who is trying to be precise, to do justice to the language, even if the language may have been hers. But because times have gone by, some words may have gone out of vogue, sounds go out of vogue. So I think that when you look at works which are based on research and a lot of thought process and hard work, you need to appreciate these kind of publications and productions also for that, not just for their entertainment purpose or the value that they bring in. Yes, they're pleasing to the ear. If the guitars are well done, or any instrument that is played, and you can see the little tambourine of hers that she plays with, I don't know, one finger or two fingers, bade nakhre maar ke na tick 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 chin chin karegi ho. All these nakhras, all those are good, right? But the choice of the songs and the preparation that goes on to make sure the pronunciation is well. And she's singing Bangla, for example, in this. What does it take to justice with that language? So Pashto, for example. So tell us anyway. Take us to Bhagat Kumar Ram in your voice.
Interesting point that you mentioned, how even a lot of the songs evolved over time, and with Nale Allah Khaje, a similar journey has taken place. So in modern day context, for instance, the word alak has also kind of evolved to now be synonymous with Allah. And so some also kind of, have, of course, because, we're in the Islamic Republic and with religious kind of connotations that are associated with pretty much everything. Now, there's been also an attempt to kind of, make it Islamic, or, so to speak. Everyone tries to own it. And so that was another kind of, reason why I wanted to retain and stay true to its original form. Because that is the word that has been used to evoke or to pray or to call out to the Almighty, right? And that the poetry of itself, of that whole kalam, is in itself such a beautiful representation of even the geographical reality of the region, right? So, ukenden ke bero tar moinjo, matlab meri kashti paar karo. And this is something that I thought was really interesting, how each poetry kind of even evolves based on the region that it's from. And so if I, just compare it to this Pashto, Larsha Pe Khawar, it talks about these wildflowers from Bajor, Taza Taza Guluna Dreselor Mala Raura. So Bajor ke, it's a barren region. वहाँ के मगर फूल जो हैं वो बड़े खूबसूरत किस्म के unique flowers उगते हैं. And in that song there's a reference to the flora of that. So I really like this kind of poetic imagery that's often used in a lot of our folk poetry that really speaks about the region and the land that it comes from. And of course with Bhagat Kumar Ram, the whole sectarian sort of communal riots which took his life. I mean, he was killed in sectarian riots, and he was he was a Bhagat or Hindu mystic, or that's revered by both Muslim and Hindu communities. But I just kind of wanted to bring that history back also in this time. So for me, this was kind of like some of the choices that I was making when I was deciding what to. And then, of course, to my little sort of research and knowledge that I have on this, usually a lot of performances in Sindh start with this particular kalam. So, it was kind of like the start of something, inshallah, that I wish to learn a lot more about Sindhi poetry, and I've started on that journey itself. So that's something that kind of was the beginning of this process.
And I'm your mom Arfa has sent a disclaimer that she never told you not to speak in Punjabi, she says. Do you have a statement to make?
No.
She said two
not
words,
really.
never said. She forgot to put the exclamation point though.
She did tell me to sing actually in Punjabi. She may have said
That
not
you
to speak,
told,
but she
but
did
you
say to
also claimed that she told you to not to speak in
Hanji.
Punjabi with me. That she's disputing.
हाँ.
So whom do I believe?
Actually, वो
The
बड़ी
doting
अच्छी
mommy
पंजाबी
or the
बोलती
doting
है.
daughter?
Of course, me. Always.
Come on.
You know, I'm always, Gulabo always says the truth.
Oh, look at that. And maa chuthi, huh? Look at that. Look at that. देख लो आरफा, कुड़ी तेरी बिगड़ गई जे.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਾਇਲੈਕਟ ਕੀ
अच्छा,
ਗੱਲ
कुड़ी
ਕਰਦੇ
बिगड़ी
ਤੇ
ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ
ਅੰਮੀ
ਵੀ
ਜੀ
ਇਲਜ਼ਾਮ ਮੈਨੂੰ
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ
ਆਰਫਾ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ
ਹਿੰਦੂ
ਪਾਣਾ
ਬਹੁਤ-
ਪੈਣਾ ਨਾ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ
मतलब एक्चुअली मैं गलती कर गया हूँ. आरफा दे तो इल्जाम जाएगा ना कि कुड़ी बिगाड़ी, तेरी कुड़ी तू कुड़ी बिगाड़ती. सो जो बिगड़ी है कुड़ी तो भी माँ पे इल्जाम जाएगा कुड़ी बिगाड़ी हुई है.
बिगड़ी हुई है हाँ जी
बिगड़ी
sounds
हुई.
like something my grandmother would say.
So Shivangini Yeshu Yuvraj says, good to see you, Wajiha. And Tarinder Kaur is sending you, I think, one rose.
Oh, thank you.
But have you heard about Surinder Kaur, the singer?
Actually, no, I have not.
Surinder Kaur, Punjabi, one of
But
the greatest Punjabi legends. Surinder Kaur.
Acha, I'll definitely love to hear and
He's
explore her work.
one of
Thanks
the-
to you, I learned about Parvati Ball, also BBS, and I was blown away by her performances. And in fact, again, speaking again of looking ahead on Hijrat, I did Tagore in Bengali, but, which we talked about very briefly in our last Baiṭhak, I remember. Tagore's Ustad or Tagore's teacher, Lalun Fakir, is someone that I've actually recently also discovered. And so I, saw that Parvati has done a lot of her
Yes.
sort of recitals about his work. And so that's also something that I look forward to reading and learning more about. But starting off with this volume of Hijrat, it is still a lot more of just kind of breaking the ice, as I'd call it. And there's also like a flow, right? So we're going through different songs and they all somehow also are about sort of love and hope and belief. And there is prayer in it where, the Sindhi kalam is a prayer, is praying to the Almighty to, get me across to the other side. And I deliberately chose to end it with my own personal sort of, my original composition, Yaqeen, which has been, we've kind of done it differently this time, with a new sort of arrangement, in which I don't know if you noticed, there is a little bit, Kavita, Kabir Dasti, we include Kiti Si, a slight part in the middle, to again kind of conclude on this belief or hope, which is the message that I wanted to conclude this whole set list on. So that's also kind of this creative, aesthetic thinking or process that went into going through the different songs and the reason why which one comes at which time.
The reason I mentioned about Surinder Kaur is that Surinder Kaur the बड़ी फैंटास्टिक धी हैगी है डॉली गुलेरिया ਉਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਮਜ਼ੇਦਾਰ ਧੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਸੁਨੈਣੀ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ
अच्छा
so she's writing fascinating. Please share links to the tracks. The line of work is pretty much the research work in ethnomusicology which I'm pursuing, keenly interested in Miss Naqvi's work. So you need to connect with Sunani. She also sings.
Absolutely.
So I'll connect you guys.
Please do put us in touch.
And do that. So, who's this Shahryar Banuri?
That's the one you have to pick a beef with.
My question is, I was hoping it's not him, right? And
What is he saying? Is he also going to throw me under the bus like my mother?
the first thing he says is haha. I mean, that was like some time ago. And so then he's saying, love you the star, baby, as Wajiha calls you. Well, not just Wajiha, like everybody, every God-forsaken one calls me BB. I think there's like so like miserly with word BBS. What Sapa Mukao Cheti. So, and Jaswinder says, the star takes a heart away. Matlab, oye kampakta. मतलब हले तेरा दिल सिगा जड़ा दस्तार करके जाना सी हले तेरा गुआचिया नहीं सी दिल तू किसी ने दिल नहीं देता कोई लुट के कोई दिल तेरा दिल नहीं कोई खो के ले गया मतलब कितना झूठ बोल रहा है देखो जसविंदर सिंह
दिल बहुत बड़ा है मुख्तलिफ लोगों को जा सकता है
ले वो कट इतना थोड़ा ना होता है दिल के टोटे टोटे करके थोड़ा दिल होता है दिल ता मतलब जे मतलब यहाँ ता देखो हो सकता है जसविंदर सच कह रहा होवे कि ਉਹਦਾ ਦਿਲ ਹਲੇ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਦਸਤਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੈ ਗਈ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਬੜਾ ਕੋਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਸ ਗੱਲੋਂ ਪਰ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸੱਚ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਰੇਬ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਹੀ ਦਿਲ ਰੱਖਣ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਦਿਲ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਈ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਜ਼ਮੀਨਾਂ ਵੇਚਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦੀ ਵੇਚ ਆਪ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜਾਲੀ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਕੋਈ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਵਪਾਰੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਤੇ I see. So then he says, I was actually wondering why you're not wearing a lehriya today. Well, it was just because I mean, I wear a turban that comes first in my stride. ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਿਖ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਾ ਲੈਣਾ. And Poonam Ayub says, cannot believe the turban tying being done without any mirror, but just by the feel of it. All quite impressive. Yeah. Oh, I am so flattered. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's true. I don't usually look at the mirror,
Right.
Dr. Jasbir Kaur is joining from Punjab University, Patiala. She was, COVID na japiyan wa ke baithi si. But I'm so glad that she's up and running. Dadi kudi hai wo.
Good to have you.
Quite a researcher herself. And traveled to, many elders in Pakistan as well in search of some of the old folk dhuns, etc.
Okay, and, great.
Bibi Kamaljeet Kaur says, from where you buy your pages, Veerji? I think you wanted to say pugs. Pages. This is when I went to attend the wedding of the grandson of Sakar Khan Manganiyar. So his brother Pepe Khan plays the Shehnai. They honor everybody who comes. So the only one that I have is from Hamira village near Jaisalmer. So
it's very nice and actually very up to date with fashion. The tie and dye.
I see. So I'm very
tie and dye is supposedly in fashion.
So I'm like fashionable. I see. So I'm in fashion.
Yes.
Okay. And Leher Zaidi is saying hello and adabs and Sat Sri Akal. Ramneek Pan is here. And who else? Shahriyar says, language and cultures are so important and just like muscles. Oh, is he a muscle man, your brother?
No, not at all.
He's not into muscle. I mean, why the analogy of muscles? But
I don't know. I wonder what he's talking about.
So let's see what he talks about.
Maybe it's a...
You don't use them, you lose them. क्या बात है मतलब बड़ी कविता you don't lose them, you use them मतलब
That's true.
मतलब तू ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਕਵਿਤਾ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਰਾ ਤੋਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਰਾ ਨੂੰ ਤੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ
ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਸਭ ਦੀ ਮੁxtਲਿਫ ਬਿਮਾਰੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਪਰਸੂ ਕਰਨ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਸ ਵੱਲ ਉਸ ਸਾਈਡ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰਲ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਸਟ ਹੈ
I see.
ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ I was lucky enough or maybe I'd say more rebellious.
Oh, I see. But your mom?
But
go ahead.
But no, I was just sort of saying that what my brother's talking about, if you don't use or revise languages enough, you forget them. That's absolutely true. And that's the case with Pashto as well. I mean, a big side of my family, because my mother, grew up in Peshawar, and a lot of my family, they do speak Pashto. And so I've grown up visiting Peshawar every year, and I would obviously hear a lot of these songs, and these are songs that are very familiar to people who are, familiar with Pashto music and poetry. And so I would always kind of, ask my grandmother to teach me Pashto, and I was always trying to attempt to learn it. But because, it was a very small, brief period where I would travel to in the summer and learn this for a short while, then come back to Karachi and completely forget about it. But again, the phonetics, the language, that has stayed. And so somehow it's like a personal sort of journey to revive a lot of these languages that, have been in me, and I have, kind of heard them growing up. And so ਉਹ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ whole being ਵਿੱਚ ਕहीं ਨਾ ਕहीं ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, even if you might have forgotten exactly how to pronounce them. So it was, interesting for me to be able to revive those as well and make sure that I'm able to speak those words that I once used to have much more command over when I was younger.
Right. And that's true. And then Arfa, I have an issue with you. Teri thi Rani nu Surinder Kaur da pata nahi, but she says, yes, I have, and my mother loves Surinder Kaur. So your Nani loves Surinder Kaur, and you're claiming you've never heard Dachi Walya, Mor Muharve, etc.
Acha, of course. Anji.
You remember those songs?
But I'm not. Yes, I do remember the songs, but I'm not familiar with Surinder Kaur.
I see. So, so that one, and so then he says, my Nani Ma Bibi Surinder Kaur had learned the song Lal Shah Parkhaver in one of her trips to Iran in the 60s, and Mom and I remember that even now.
Wow.
Yeah. And Kuldeep says, I'm so happy. Tohadde naal main juddiyan Waheguru aap. Oh, that's so kind. Thank you very much, Kuldeep ji. And Arfa Naqvi, Arfa says, my mother lived in Patinda, we call it Patinda. Jaisalmer de bote uthe rehndे ne. Patinda. Bathinda. And my mother lived in Bathinda in a young age, of course, a pre-partition time. Oh, that's lovely. And Sadaf Hussain says, where did the horse go from the background? Dasso ji,
Actually, it was funny because my mother was more excited about her artwork on display for this. I said, "Ke tuadi promotion nahi ho rahi aaj. Mere gaana de." But anyway, she got this painting again. Ghodiyan di painting.
That's true. That's true. Yes.
This is also done freehand, actually, on silk.
Kya baat hai?
On fabric. So that's something that's also done by her.
मेरी जान ਨੂੰ ਸਿਆਪਾ ਪੈ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਜੇ ਆਵਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਕੱਲ ਕੇ ਡਾਕਾ ਪਾਣ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ ਪਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਨਫਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਵਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕੀ ਚੁਰਾ ਕੇ ਲੈ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ it's a catch 22 and
but you didn't show the picture that you colored of the sketch. I thought you were going to show.
I showed yesterday. You want me to
the version that you've completed it. You must show it again. For people
really?
Who haven't seen it.
Really, but that's still work in progress, and you won't be able to see it though because you're connected via Skype. So maybe I can I can then send it to you in the chat box as I share it with.
I mean, I could always open it up through my phone. No, but you can always show it to our listeners.
Yeah, that I can. And let me put it in the 16:9 format because they won't be able to otherwise watch it fully. Let me see. Here we go. Come on. There it goes. Oh, let me get myself out of there. मेरा मैंने भी देख लेने दो पहले. And right, and let me share that with you as well. So that is the one, guys, I did. So, ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵਜੀਹਾ ਦੱਸੋ, Haris Ezra ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਦੱਸੋ.
Haris, ਹਾਂਜੀ.
Haris, अच्छा.
Alif, A for Alif, जहाँ पे recording हुई है, and again it's a live studio recording. You know, we just kind of did all these songs in a row right there.
You've gotten the chats. You can open it up.
I have.
Yeah.
So what happened? It's an artist collective in some ways, right? So a lot of musicians come and go. So even while we would have our jam sessions, there would be artists that come in and go and would be doing their own thing.
I see.
That's sort of a performance space. So while we were doing this recording, Haris Ijaz was visiting from Islamabad. He's an Islamabad-based artist, and he does very interesting sort of characters that he draws. He sketches animated characters, and he has a great sort of page on Instagram as well for the people who are interested. So he just sat there and he started sketching while we were just doing our performance. And because myself and Jasir, who's the rhythm guitar player, was we were in his line of sight. He just kind of drew us and just did an initial sketch during that time. And then by the end of it, he was like, "Oh look, this is something I made." Yes.
Right. I'm showing the initial sketch as well. This is what you sent me.
Yes. And so BBS has been kind enough to
waste
to add a lot of color to it and make me really funky with like these pink, Gulabo style dye that is there in my hair dye in my hair. I look very Gulabo. I love it.
Yeah.
So and that little tambourine on the side, which you think ke main badi wo show off kar rahi sa. What did you say? Nakhrech bajari sa. That's what you said, right? So thank you for including that as well.
But what do you think? I must have spent like over 15 hours on that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow. I feel really honored, BBS, and also that, I mean, it's very kind of you. To also attach the Hijrat logo on the right.
I did that because that's to do with that, no? The album, this was shot when you did that. I turned it, but you didn't send the logo as such. But you did. It's being used as a logo as well.
I did.
I see. So,
I did.
Okay. So then I did. But this is what I did, guys. Digital art. It's crazy. But I'm enjoying. I'm sort of slowly getting okay on that. Not too bad. And well, Leher says Wajiha Sahiba is sheer elegance in every sense. Come on, Leher, you're supposed to be you're in my camp, right? You're not in Wajiha's camp. You have to be very miserly.
She's a very elegant name also, actually. Leher, like waves of the ocean.
Leher.
So I share that sentiment.
क्योंकि उन्हें तेरी तारीफ की है, मैं उधे खिलाफ हो रहे हैं कि लहर कली एक है.
बड़ा poetic सा
Yeah, but लहर एक होती है. मेरी दुश्मनी पै गई ना, तेरी तारीफ करती है उन्हें. लहर सिर्फ एक होती है. लहरां बहुतियां, वो लहरां ज़्यादा होंदियां ने, वो ज़्यादा बढ़िया होंदियां ने. So, and then we look at Sunani is saying BBS ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਛੇਤੀ ਲੱਭ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਮਿੱਤਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਬੜੀ ਦੂਰ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ something like that. BBS ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਪਸ਼ਤੋ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਲਾਈਨਾਂ ਸੁਣਾ ਦਿਓ ਵਜੀਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਹੈ. So would you mind singing? Would you kindly share something in Pashto? Sunani's
sure.
requesting.
I'll sing the same track.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
That I sung for Hijrat. So the track is called Larsha Pe Khawar Takamistor Mala Rauda Taza Taza Guluna Dre Salor Mala Rauda, which basically is calling on someone to to go to Peshawar and bring 3 or 4 flowers from Bajaur. As I mentioned there, Bajaur is known for its flowers, and bring a black shirt for me. And in fact, this version also, it's popular folk song. There's a version in Afghanistan also, which is called Larsha Ningarhar. And Ningarhar is a province in Afghanistan. So I also made a choice to include that in Hijrat, and I'm sure you've noticed it, or if you didn't, but that's something that I also would like to mention. That again, there's a conscious decision to include Afghanistan in this particular track as well, and use that version. So I'll just sing a few lines. Larsha pe khawar takamistor mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda Larsha pe khawar takamistor mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda Kapaham zoluk me gore parhat patabai tor tabajawar guluna Maida lakata zarkita kawama kamistor autor mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda taza taza guluna drisalur mala rauda. Yeah.
Wow. That's wonderful. And that's so much for Sunani's request. And
actually, interestingly, BTS, what I learned about this particular song, Parhat Patabai Tor Tabajawar Guluna, again, just learning about, Pashto folk poetry. So Parhad is actually a reference to, there's a p and a f sound, which is also changed in certain Afghani dialects. They use p, and certain dialects use the fa. It's a reference to the story of Shirin Farhad in, of course, the epic poem of Khusro and Shirin. And so it's, kind of a reference to that. So a lot of this poetry, if you read the literal translations that I've done, they might not even explain what the, years and centuries of, and of course the metaphors and symbolism that these songs carry, which is, it's talking about this reference to a Persian sort of folklore tale that's used also in a lot of, Punjabi poetry. It's used in Pashto poetry. So, there are a lot of references to these, which superficially, I don't think people would perhaps even remember now, or realize if they were to hear it. So it's important to kind of revive that aspect as well for those who are interested to go and explore and wonder what is this talking about.
Right. That's then I have Bandeep is here, the photographer, photo shooter. It says the real value about language is the folk expressions and material culture it codifies. The long cannot be the same as a nose pin. Kya baat hai? Long da lishkara, matlab long da ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਕਹਿ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਲੇਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ. ਨੋਜ਼ ਪਿਨ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ
ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ.
क्योंकि ਉਹ ਨੋਜ਼ ਦੀ ਪਿੰਨ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਲੌਂਗ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਲੌਂਗ ਪਿੰਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਕੱਲੀ ਅੱਛਾ
even nath ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਲੇਟ ਕਰੋ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੋਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਗੁਲਾਬੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ where did that go here ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਉਹ ਦੇਖ ਜਰਾ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ how we say the sketch that I've sent
the
you.
artwork right
the artwork.
What about it?
There's something that I want to show everyone, right?
Okay.
So folks, in the snapshot that I took from the computer, there's a snapshot that you see. If you can see top left, right? Top left.
Yeah.
What do you see on the top left? The top left, you see a Batman, right?
Yeah, I mean,
on the
I
top
can't
left,
see the sketch in front of me, but I can only see your sketch.
In the room where you guys, what is the room that you?
Yes, there is a Batman. There is a Batman.
There is a Batman, right?
There's a Batman logo.
Yeah. So now look at the sketch of yours.
Right.
That I've done.
I don't see any Batman.
Apni mundri dekh.
Oh wow! What detailing! Fantastic.
Tu ki sochti
That
mein
is lovely.
Batman. I haven't researched. मैं अपनी मेरी गर्लफ्रेंड हैगी है बहुत मेरे नाल आड़ी है ਉਹਦੀ
अच्छा
गूगलो कौर गूगल कौर
कौर ही है
नहीं चलो गूगल अली कह लो गली कोई नहीं वो जेड़ा मर्जी हो गूगल अली कह लो चलो बड़ी डाडी मुसलमान नहीं है कह लेने हैं सो ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਯਾਰ ਜਰਾ ਬੈਟਮੈਨ ਸ਼ੈਟਮੈਨ ਦਾ ਦਿਖਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ Amazon ਦੀ ਪਲੇਟ ਤੇ ਵੱਲ ਲੈ ਗਈ this is an Amazon plate which you can buy so then I took that and I worked on it ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰੱਖਾਂ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਇਹਦੀ ਮੁੰਦਰੀ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੈਟਮੈਨ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਲੋਗੋ ਨੂੰ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਾਰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਦੇਖ ਲਾ
Amazing! I love the detailing. बहुत मजा आया. It's like you can play like hide and seek. You know the find the missing. वो एक game होती है. 10 things that you find in an image which are you have to. Maybe you should do that actually.
Yeah, of course. ਇਹਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਈ ਕੁਝ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਂ. छोटी चीज़ें but this is quite something isn't it the fact that I caught that caught my eye and then to have the detailing in that sense मैं दिखाना सारिਆਂ ਨੂੰ let me see if I can share
the original sketch
let me see. Oops, install later. So let me.
I don't know if I can show it through my phone.
No, I'm showing it here. Don't worry. Let me. So friends. Look at oops यार इतना ना जा हाँ देखो so ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਮੁੰਦਰੀ ਗੁਲਾਬੋ this is what I did in the
Mundari bhi eja loves hai na usnu. How do you translate that also?
That's true. That's true.
Right?
So this is I thought I'll reveal that. I shouldn't have done it. I would have rather waited for several years. Maybe once I was buried in some grave somewhere on the moon or maybe on the Mars, and I would say, you would come all the way to knock. Hey, knock. You like 80-year-old, 90-year-old Wajiha coming. Oh, I just.
How would I have known?
I discovered. You know, he plays the Batman.
Ah, yeah. I would never have known if you hadn't shared it with me. So I'm so glad you did.
Yeah. And so Shahryar says, I'm also interested to know what Pashto Wajiha remembers. So. तेरा भरा ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੱਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਸ਼ਤੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਅੱਛਾ then he says ਅਰੇ ਵਾਹ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਨਾ that's what I've been saying
yeah then he
ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ but of course
and your mom says great job and Kameez Tore we assume Poonam Ayub is saying that I don't know what is Kameez Tore
Kameez Tore is Kali Kameez
Kameez Tore I see
Mala Rauda
who is Ather Naqvi?
My other brother.
मतलब पूरी मैं सोच रहा सी
I know I'm very embarrassed.
तेरे दो भरा ने ना
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਚੁਣ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ
ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਨਕਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਭਰਾ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਬਨੂਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਲਾਗੇ ਬਨੂਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕੋਈ ਬਨੂਰ ਦਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਬੇਦੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਦਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਫੈਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕੋਈ ਮੇਰਾ
ਬਨੂਰ ਕਿਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ
Banur is a village near I mean there's a town now near Chandigarh
it is yes
so Banuri मैं सोचा कोई somebody say मैं लाहौरी हैगा मैं कराची हैगा मैं पेशौरी हैगा ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਯਾਰ ਬਨੂਰੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕੋਈ ਬਨੂਰ ਦਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਬੜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੈਟਰੀਓਟਿਕ ਬਨੂਰ ਦਾ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ then either but I don't know whether it's your brother or some nephew or an uncle or a whatever
no
she says wow you enhance the color so much more than yesterday great work Sarji Arey you showed your brother what I did Mother, there's no private conversation. You bloody, you leak everything to your brother. Your mom is okay, but your brothers know about my sketches. I'm embarrassed now. Either tu ta matlab sochte hain
why embarrassed, BBS? You just bared it all in front of like a live Facebook audience.
Did I? I see. I didn't realize that. Acha, Sunani is liked it. She says, oh, this is extraordinary, commendable. Truly the moment is captured so beautifully when the art is actually not there in soul and is connected to the Supreme Power. As Farida Saab said in one of the live concerts, कि कुछ वक्त मैं वहाँ नहीं था, वही वक्त लज़्ज़तें इंतहाई का वक्त था. क्या बात है? And I think the idea to have an artist, capture some of the moments is very well thought of.
It is very special. Very nice. It's very special. And it happened very organically. It wasn't planned as such, but it just happened that way.
Right. I see. So Nani says that's the same song that her Nanima used to sing, what you just sang in Pashto. Can you imagine? That's like one Sundar connect. That's so
sweet. See, that's so lovely. That's exactly, those are the kind of conversations I hope to start. And in fact, I had an interesting experience with, and these are the conversations that I'm hoping can happen, but the Persian song, when I posted it, on Instagram, I put up a Iranian flag, a Pakistani flag, and an Afghanistan flag. So someone reached out to me saying, this is an Iranian song. Why do you have, Afghanistan there? So, so then I engaged with that person. But again, the idea is that a lot of these songs are shared and, heard across borders. And in fact, the composer of that song is Afghan. And Persian in itself, that language is spoken in Afghanistan. It's an old version of Persian. But people somehow, because of political grievances, have very, very different views on what should be considered their song, and so they get very possessive. Ke, oh, no, this is an Iranian song. How could you say that it has anything to do with Afghanistan?
Listen, Gulabo, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਹਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਊੜੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅੜਾੜੇ ਤੱਕ 35 ਅੱਖਰ ਸਿਖਾਏ ਨੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਕਹਿਲਵਾਏ ਨੇ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਗਾਲੀਆਂ ਸਿਖਾਵਾਂਗਾ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਮ ਓਏ ਕੁੱਤਿਆ, ਓਏ ਕੁੱਤੀਏ, ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਲਾਈਕ ਦ ਫਰਸਟ ਵਨਸ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਤੈਨੂੰ ਆਂਦੇ ਬੋਲਨੇ? ਬੋਲ ਕੇ ਦਿਖਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ, ਯਾਨੀ ਆਮ ਹੈ। ਓਏ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਚ, ਓਏ ਕੁੱਤਿਆ, ਓਏ ਕੁੱਤੀਏ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ।
Not falling for that.
अच्छा, come on, एक बार क्या कहते देख, बड़ी मतलब बड़ी पड़ास निकलेगी, जिगर जरा तेरा दिल हौला होएगा।
I know, I agree. सही कह रहे हो तुम। So privately मैं कर
पंजाबी च,
but not on public Facebook live।
So पंजाबी च जे कोई तेनू कहे ना कि पर्शियन हैगी, ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਿਣਾ, ਇੰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਯਬ ਕਰੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਜੀ ਇੰਗੇਜ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਓਏ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸੌਰੀ ਦਿਆ, ਇਹ ਪਰਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਓ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਮਾਂ ਨੇ? End of the story. This is how, I mean, ਇਹ ਐਵੇਂ ਤੂੰ
so ਜਜ਼ਬਾਤੀ, right? ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਫੌਰਨ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਤੇ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ।
So ਇੰਨੀ ਲੰਬੀ ਦੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਓਏ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਓ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੇਰੇ ਮਾਂ ਨੇ? ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ, ਪਰਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ? ਸਾਡੀ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ।
ਵੈਸੇ I'm sure you get lots of comments like that. Is that how you respond, or what is your way of having this dialogue? I'm curious.
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੈ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ। It's like a dog fight.
Yeah.
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਚੋੜ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਖਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਪੰਗਾ ਲਵੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ। No, I'm kidding. It's always good to converse with that. But ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਨਜਿੱਠੀ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਜੋ ਕੋਈ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਪਰਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਓ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਮਾਂ ਨੇ? ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸੋਚੀ ਪਾ ਦੇਗਾ ਨਾ, ਫਿਰ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਆ। Anyway, so my cousin Ramneek Kaur, she's a medic. She says ਵਜੀਹਾ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਤੋਂ ਕੀ ਕਢਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ? ਕਿੰਨੀ ਓਪਰਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ। ਵਜੀਹਾ ਦੀ ਛਨਕ ਦੀ ਹੱਸੀ ਕਮਾਲ ਦੀ ਹੈ। My sister, big sister says,
oh, sweet.
God bless her.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Sharia says, but we wanted to hear a sentence in Pashto. Oh, I see, Sharia, that's a good point. So, kudiye mere naal Pashto ch gal kar.
Haji.
Aaj ki khada si? Kis da sir khada si? Shahryar, silence is telling a million stories.
No. I'm trying. Actually, it's really funny because when you say this in my head, I'm actually translating it to Punjabi. So that's what's naturally coming. Because you have been making me converse.
Perfect. So because in the end, you can sing all the songs that there are in the world, but in the end, I want Gulabo to say, ਓਏ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਭਾਸ਼ਾਓ ਖਸਮਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਾਓ, ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਠੇਠ ਪੰਜਾਬਣ ਕੱਲੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਗਾਵਾਂਗੀ।
ਪੰਜਾਬੀ।
Then I'm okay.
I know, and you have succeeded. But of course, that's also natural because in my household, people speak Hindko, right? So that's something that I hear most often.
Right. And so, Shahryar, sorry, out of luck, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵੀ sentence ਪਸ਼ਤੋ ਚ
ਮਾਤਾ ਰੋਟੀ ਨਾ ਖੋਰੀ।
ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਿਰ ਖਾਦਾ ਸੀ ਅੱਜ?
ਕਿ ਮੈंने ਰੋਟੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਾਈ।
ਅੱਛਾ, ਰੋਟੀ ਖਾਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ। I see. And your mom says, yes, true, my mother is Banuri.
Yes.
That's
She
amazing.
is.
And okay, Haider says, yesterday you shared it, that's where I saw it. Acha, so you didn't share the message I sent you with Haider. He just saw it online. Is that right?
बीबी सब गल दस देवां तनु
Huh.
तनु
Matlab, if you've not shared it, he only saw it online, then you're saved.
then I'm off the hook.
Acha, Umair Dar is here. Umair Dar, hello and welcome to the
Umair,
show.
our producer.
Yes, so
For this whole-
Gulabo has been telling that you were horrible to work with. That you're the you are the
Also, I
producer.
must mention
She did
about
not
Umair.
want to have. That's what she told me privately.
Privately. Yes, that's true. Please don't embarrass me further. Let's keep this secret between us.
All
But
right.
but
Tell us-
History, actually, Umair also he played the rhythm guitar.
Yes, I know.
Jasir played the lead
I know,
guitar,
yeah.
and Umair also played the ebo on the Bengali track.
I see.
So that's another interesting kind of arrangement that we did. So if you listen to it as well, he sustains the note, the ebo, kind of gives it that very Eastern feeling to that track. So he's kind of using that in the video,
I see.
and he played it beautifully.
I see. So tell me about Umair's, the choice that you made. How did the project come into being with A4 Aleph, and then to have Umair as as a producer? How did this
So
project
Umair
come into being? Yeah.
runs this place, A for Aleph, and he's a music producer, and he's started this initiative since a couple of years. And in Pakistan, we don't have very many, not very many, I would say. We have them, of course, but good, high quality recording production facilities. And Umair, he could share his story, but he used to be a corporate person, a banker, gave
see.
up that, and has dedicated his life to music and to producing and creating music. So I'd encourage you to even look at his channel A for Aleph, and they've been getting artists from all over, recording them, and making them their albums, full-length EPs that are being released. And it's a lot of hard work that he's put in. It's like I mentioned, it's a state-of-the-art facility, and a lot of love and care goes into even maintaining, preserving that. Sometimes there's a lot also not funding or money involved. With the arts, and especially in COVID times, it's been a very difficult time for a lot of musicians. And Aleph has always kept their doors open to musicians in Karachi. So people who are familiar with the music scene in Karachi would be familiar with this space.
I see.
And so when this happened, I automatically knew that this was one place that would open its doors and would welcome this sort of a project, and will work together with me. Similar, like-minded individuals. And so they really, what I appreciate, and I'm very grateful to all the musicians, Aziz and Umair, Jasir, Irfan, they really put in we had a lot of jams and rehearsals, and because it's live, so we made sure that we are really well rehearsed for this live performance. And I'm sure that we're trying to create our own version of there's in the West there are really popular sessions called the Tiny Desk sessions or KEXP. So we're trying to kind of also create our own sort of style here in Pakistan, coming up with those kind of live sessions. They do a lot of live streaming as well with musicians. So that was sort of the whole kind of process.
So the setting.
And I was lucky to be actually perform this for the opening act of the Women of the World Festival, which was also a digital festival that happened. So initially it was actually, which is what I'm even I'm addressing that audience in the YouTube live performance that you can see. I'm talking about Women of the World Festival, so we were actually playing for that audience, but then we decided to make something more like long lasting and release it from Alif's channel.
So the recording that has been done is from the live concert. It's not like a studio recording. So that's a live concert that you did.
It's a live, yes.
And which has been released. And how much time did it take?
Yes.
Have you guys practiced before, or it's just impromptu? Everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. We had We had multiple, because I said that these are completely new arrangements. So we spent at least a month, 3 weeks having jams. Couple of times a week. We would sit for like 3-4 hours. And flesh things out, and of course we also wanted to keep it a bit organic and improvised also, so we left some space for that, but generally we did rehearse quite a few times and give it a raw folk but in a modern sort of contemporary manner. So if you see the Pashto song, Pashto mein 7 the beat istemal hoti hai, 7 matre di.
Yes.
So we've retained that beat in La Chape Khawai, very distinct Pashto beat. In the Sindhi track, Dadra were 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6. So Dadre wali tal, typical like Sindhi folk beat jo hundi hai. So we've kind of tried to maintain a lot of even the musical rhythmic sort of essence of each song in that sense.
Right.
In the arrangements.
I see. No, I'd love to. I wish I had. Not that I would have loved to have Umair as well today. I don't know if you have his Skype connection. Maybe he can join in, and he can say hello to everybody. But of course, I'd love to have a separate session with him. In any case, about his studio and the work he's doing, we'll do that. And he's writing that this is, of course, a live in studio. He says our studio is set up for professional live recordings. As I believe that studio recordings should be done live as much as practical to maintain the feeling of music. Absolutely, Umair, I cannot agree with you more. Some of the finest music recorded in the 20th century, using even the analog, equipment, tubes, vagara. They rehearsed a lot and they played live. I mean, to see dekh lo, Naushad, even film music dekh lo, Pame Lahore de vich see, Mumbai de vich see, Kolkata se ga. Go back and when it all first started. In fact, Dr. Madhu Gopal Singh has done work on. I mean, when he was at the fellow at the Nehru Library, he did focus. I think part of his project was looking at all the
Baijis that were recorded, the gramophone recordings that took place.
All of them were like, they rehearsed and then they performed. So all the which baat hai ki hai. आज वांगो नहीं एक को बड़ा वड्डा बहुत वड्डा पॉप स्टार होया सी वो मेरा शागिर्द सिगा पे तो हुंदा ही एक बार शागिर्द तो सदा ਲਈ शागिर्द ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਾ 2 ਮਿੰਟ ਦਾ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹੀਏ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੰਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਭੈਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੇ 2 ਮਿੰਟ ਦਾ ਟਰੈਕ ਸੀਗਾ ਗਿਟਾਰ ਦਾ ਪੀਸ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਸ਼ਾਗਿਰਦ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਡੀਓ ਐਡੀਟਿੰਗ ਬੜੀ ਕਮਾਲ ਦੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਅ ਰਿਸਟੋਰਰ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਗੁਰਦੇਵ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਟੁਕੜਾ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਦਾ ਲੈ ਲਈਏ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪਏਗੀ ਮੈਂ ਝੱਟ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਮਾਈਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅੱਛਾ ਕਮਾਲ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚੋਂ ਅੱਛਾ ਤੀਜੇ ਉਹਨੇ 11 ਟੇਕ ਲਏ ਸੀ 11-12 ਟੇਕ ਲਏ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨੀਂਦ ਆ ਗਈ ਉਹ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਆਫਿਸ 'ਚ ਸੋ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ 3-4 ਘੰਟੇ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿਆ ਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਗੁਰਦੇਵ ਕਮਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ 16 ਜਾਂ 17 ਚੇਪੀਆਂ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ 2 ਮਿੰਟ ਮਿਊਜ਼ਿਕ 'ਚ ਕਿ ਇੱਧਰੋਂ ਟੁਕੜਾ ਲਿਆ ਉੱਧਰੋਂ ਟੁਕੜਾ ਲਿਆ ਇੱਕ ਟੁਕੜਾ ਸੀ 2 ਮਿੰਟ ਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਤੇ ਹੈਂਕੜ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਫਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਕੋਈ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਨਸੇਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਪ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਲੋਕ ਤੁਰੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ
sorry I'm just going to quickly plug my laptop before it dies the battery
so
might
I'm
switch off
sort
so
of
please
very very glad for that. You'll be, well, let me surprise you, Meyer. I have gotten from Mike Spitz, who's passed away from ATR, who founded the ATR Services Pennsylvania. I've got a 1/2-inch 2-track reel-to-reel head block for recording. Can you imagine? In my studio. So, मैं हले वरतना शुरू करना है और नवा head block, new head block, which has been custom built for me. So I'm so glad to hear that.
And when Umair was mixing the track, I was there, and that's the time I got to see his analog mixer. It was very exciting sort of experience to see. He had these buttons, and he would play them, and he would actually show me of how different the sound is. So that was a really interesting experience for me to see the post-production aspect of it.
Right. I see. मेरा ना मैं जदों कल्ला गया I was not audible. Your mom says no sound. I see. So you only saw my baranga, my chehra here. What I was saying at the time when I was alone here when Gulaba was sorting her line was that I'm so glad to see that Umair, I was just reading Umair's work when he was saying that I remember now. I was saying that at the time, in the old times, the recordings were done, a lot of rehearsals, etc. And the fact that you're focusing on rehearsals and the, I don't remember now what all was said while I was muted by chance in the old setting when I was doing work earlier. But yes, the fact that you're doing rehearsals and recording live, there's so much that you're able to retain. There's life actually. Yes. It's live music is basically music that is full of life.
Absolutely. It's in that moment, right? It reminds me of your poem also that you shared in that moment.
Yeah.
Adda mera the adda tera. So in that we really created like our own magic. Actually, that's one thing I want to mention as well. Hijrat is very special to me also because of this lovely magical chemistry that we created as a band together, and we all really felt it, and so in fact I'm looking forward, and we already have started making more songs together because we all somehow, all the musicians, all of us that performed on this really connected together at multiple sort of levels. And so that's another thing that happens when your hearts connect, when your minds connect through music, then it creates something even more special. So that's I hope that people get to experience that as well when they hear it.
That's true. And then to come to the languages part, Amarjeet was saying that I think Pashto is not the only language spoken and celebrated in Afghanistan. I hear there are a few others as well. But of course, singing a song and knowing the whole language are two different things. But Sultan Singh from Bangalore says Dari is spoken more than Pashto in Afghanistan.
Dari, yes.
Says that the other language is Dari. Mainly two, but Uzbeki and some other smaller dialects. So that's wonderful to have that conversation about the languages spoken in Afghanistan region.
And Dari, in fact, is also spoken here in certain parts of Pakistan, in Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in the north. there are certain, because again, it's old Persian, it's a different, a more formal Persian dialect. So it is spoken even here.
And Umair had...
but the Dari aspect was sort of covered with the Persian song that was done, right? So it somehow is, yeah.
Right. And Umair had responded about the Igbo as well, and then he sort of very hesitantly compliments, says that you sung it beautifully. But I think there was a lot of hesitation. मुझे बड़ी तकलीफ हुई सी, मैंने लग रहा है, मतलब पढ़या जा रहा है जो लिखा
लग रहा है, फील हो गया था.
हाँ, फील हो रहा है, मुझे बड़ी तकलीफ हुई है. मतलब वो आंधे हैं उन्हें, hey guys, ha 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 ha. That's how Umair makes an entry. Look at that. That's your producer. So, and of course, Umair, compliments to you, to the entire team at A4LF. And I love the name as well. And I look forward to having, as he says, that we'd love to have a separate session as well. And then Sultan, that's a very important point he's making. He says, can we see collapse between Indian and Pakistani artists anytime soon? We should keep politics and culture separate, or will we have to wait until 2024?
Well, to be physically with each other, we might have to, but I don't think we need to wait for that to happen. They can happen digitally, which is already happening. In some ways, I don't think we would have connected if COVID wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have started your Baiṭhak series if COVID.
That's true.
So in some ways, I think that's already happening. I've experienced that. I've interacted with so many more Indians in this past year than I've had previously, because, we've been forced to turn to the digital world. And inshallah, we were talking about this. I mean, Dhruv was, you suddenly just jumped onto a call with Dhruv yesterday, and we hope to come up with something with your poetry.
Can you, with whom did you say? Indians or Jindians? What did you say? Connected with whom?
Indians.
बड़े इदां क्या जिवें अखर Indians इदां क्या some allergy दे नाल जिवें कोई aliens हुंदे ने, कोई अजनबी हुंदे ने.
Not at all.
With these Indians, I mean these.
With Indians.
Come on.
I didn't say these. I did not say these.
It felt like that. पर ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ
ਕਿ ਚੋਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ.
ਦੇਖੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਮਿਲੋ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਮਿਲਣ, ਸਿੰਧੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਮਿਲਣ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੇ ਸਿੰਧੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਫਾੜ ਪਵੇ, ਤੇ ਬਲੂਚੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜੱਫੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਪਾਵਣ. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ COVID-19 ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਯਾਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਡਿਸਟੈਂਸਿੰਗ ਰੱਖੋ, ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਸਟੈਂਸਿੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਯਾਰ ਹੈ. COVID-19 ਹੈ, ਵਾਇਰਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਲੱਗਦਾ, ਕੋਈ ਯਾਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ. Umair, I was who says that his studio is set up for professional live recordings. The point is that I saw that you were using SM58s everywhere. Is that a choice that you make for the use of microphones, or you find that for live recordings they are better than other microphones? But then when you're doing live recordings, how do you see if the audio, etc., is compromised in a way that there are microphones which you can use in isolation, which have much more dynamic range, etc., when you're having like isolated chambers, like if Wajiha were to be in a secluded portion, and you may have had microphones, maybe tube or others. Like for example, I've got a stereo mash pair of Schweppes MK41s and CMC6 capsules, for example, or Charter Oaks. I love the S538s, or even for the ribbon-like sound of the S600s or S700s. Again, by Charter Oaks, my friend Michael Deming, who founded Charter Oaks, who's a like analog, which he's also a fanatic. He's got a 2-inch 8-track and stuff. We did some experimentation at his studios in Pennsylvania with in fact, Saraswati Rajagopalan's Saraswati Veena. We tested on that with his microphones. So, how do you see, Umair, if you can respond by way of the comment, and maybe we can talk about these in detail when we have our own conversation about the work and the journey that you've had, if there are any, sort of compensations that you're making by way of SM58s, a dynamic kind of a thing, or you think it's not important with what you're overall getting. I mean, I'll be curious as to how you see, because I've been wondering about how to compensate that if you're in a live setting, there are things that you lose, but then there are things that you gain by way of that. For example, you can sit next to each other and sing. There's no bleeding from one mic to the other, or very minimal. So those are the gains as such. But then SM58 is having to get the dynamics. You have to really sit close to it, and I'm lost for it when I have to, in an Indian classical or Shastriya Sangeet way, I'm the old school. If I sing, I was not born with a microphone, so I'm trained in the old ways, like full blare sound, full voice kind
belching.
of thing. So that's something that was in my mind. And Kalinath Mishra, the tabla maestro from Mumbai, is saying Waheguru, Satnam back, and salams. And says, optimistic, aren't we? 2024 may see reinforced markers. You never know. I'm learning photoshopping. I can erase now plenty of markers. I can rub them off. So I'm also specializing.
Please do that quickly.
And I'm one of those, when I was like 17, 18, I said, even before the Berlin Wall fell, I said, how are we going to, do away with this line here? I was like that bad.
Right.
So whatever. So anyway, some of the comments, it was wonderful to have a look at some of the comments. So now, Wajiha, if you can share some of the songs that you have, take us through the journey. You've already sung one. Over to you now. Let's have you share with us the compositions that you've done. Would you like to share some? Would be fantastic.
Sure. Why don't I start with the Sindhi Bhagat Kanwar Ram's Nale Allah Khaje?
Yes. It's a beautiful song.
Nale Allah Khaje Pedho tar mohinjo Nale Dhaniya je pedho tar mohinjo Aya nintad nimani Aya nintad nimani Mukhe aadhar tuhinjo Ahe aadhar tuhinjo Oh Nale Allah Khaje pedho tar mohinjo Nale dhaniya je pedho tar mohinjo Dadhiya hai dingi duniya durangi ये भी अल्फाज दाढ़ी को कहना is very very tricky because the sound in Sindhi is not easy to be able to pronounce. So dadhiya hi dingi duniya durangi bina dhaniya pahinje bina dhaniya pahinje bina dhaniya pahinje bina dhaniya pahinje Kone ko maitr pahinjo Konih komait pahinjo ho nale alakhaje pedotar mohinjo nale dhaniya je pedotar mohinjo.
Wow. Fantastic. I'm very nostalgic with Bhagat Kamararam's. I'm so glad that you chose to include that. मतलब मेरी अद्धी लड़ाई तेरे नाल इस करके मुक्की सी और मैं हले अद्धी लड़ाई लड़ी है मतलब इससे हले दूजी होती तो फिर तो स्यापा पै जाना सी फिर तो ना आरफा नु आना पैना सी which ना maybe yes oh you know my belief इन्ना ना दिल तोड़ो या तोड़ो मतलब like that she would have had to intervene or maybe Shariar would have had to or you know like that phase.
I don't think they would intervene. They would be like please feel free to
अच्छा instead of पानी पान दी बजाय उन्होंने तेल पाना सी
they'd be like go for it.
ठीक है. So what's the next song that you are going to share with us?
How about the Persian track? Yeah.
And tell us, I mean, some of the memories if you have to share when you recorded or stuff like that.
So Mēlā is in Persian, and I learned Persian in when I was at New York University pursuing a graduate degree. I had a chance to learn a language, and I chose to learn Persian because I thought, in fact, that will actually help me learn Urdu better, which it did actually, in fact. So I took Persian for a year and a half. And it was during that time I would listen to a lot of Persian songs. And one way of, really learning a language is learning, its poetry, its music, its cinema, watching its cinema. And I had a lot of Iranian friends also in my program. So I used to speak with them. And this was one song by this famous Iranian pop singer, Gugush, who actually, because of the revolution when that came, she stopped singing in Iran. So she started re-singing in 2000 when she left Iran. So imagine from 79 to 2000, she wasn't singing. So this track, which is originally composed by an Afghan composer, also a very famous singer, Jalil Zoland. He is the one who composed this, wrote this for Gugush, for the Iranian singer. And so that's how it became famous. So, it's called Mēlā I've come, Ishq Faryad Kunam, Ishq is love is calling out to me, it's making its foundation, it's kind of having like a whole dialogue with love itself, the lover is having a dialogue about love, so being completely consumed by love. So I'm just going to maybe sing a few lines. Mēlā voy Mēlā ish faryod kunad Mēlā ki naz bunyad kunad Mēlā voy Mēlā ish faryod kunad Mēlā ki naz bunyad kunad Mēlā voy Mēlā ey dilber man ilahi sad sal shavi ey dilber man ilahi sad sal shavi dar pehluye ma nishiste hum soye shavi ke dast pe ma soye kuni Mēlā voy Mēlā ish faryod kunad Mēlā ki naz bunyad kunad Mēlā voy Mēlā. So, ey dilbar man, my dilbar, may you live sad solish, Avi, may you live 100 years. Dar pahlu ye mo nishiste, come sit next to me. Hamsoye kuni, become my neighbor. Hamsoye kuni ke dast pe mo soye kuni, that you can give me shade, protect me. So it's like this beautiful, very flirtatious, almost kind of dialogue that I like about this particular song.
I see. No, that's beautiful. Beautiful composition is amazing as well. I mean, it's a very. I remember Babosha's work. Yeah. And what's next? Are you taking us to Bengal?
Sure. Let's do that. So this is a popular Rabindranath Tagore's Sangeet. And it's been actually done by a lot of musicians in India, I believe. That's what I came across, my favorite one is by this Bengali singer Jayati Chakraborty. I mean, she sung it beautifully. The interesting thing about it is that because we had percussions with it, so musically, Jayati ji's version is very free flowing. It has like a more kind of it doesn't have a fixed sort of tempo, but here we were trying to create, we had our own version, so humne usko bandha hua tha, but it was a very, very slow beat that Aziz, who was on the percussions, he was holding that for us. So we were literally, it was like almost we were gliding through this song. Everyone was really holding on to the whole beat in the song, which was an interesting experience because the melody, the composition itself has so many dynamics. It goes high and low, and so it was really interesting to actually sing live to this. But let me share a few lines. Amaro porano jai chai, amaro porano jai chai, tumi tai go, amaro porano jai chai. তোমার ছাড়া আর জগতে মোর কেহ নাই, কিছু নাই গো, আমার পরানো যায় ছাই। তুমি সুখ যদি nahi pao, tumi sukho jodi nahi pao, jao sukhero sandhane jao, tumi sukho jodi nahi pao, jao sukhero sandhane jao, ami tomare piche hridayo mache aro kichu nahi chai go, amaro porano jai chai.
Wow. The flow badi mazedar hai. Very, very good choice.
Even the range, the notes in itself, the scale, manu kafi naal milda julda lagta hai, kafi de sur. I don't know what you think.
Manu pata nahi coffee ka pata manu. Coffee, are you mispronouncing coffee?
No, I am not.
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਅਨਪੜ੍ਹ ਆਦਮੀ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ। ਕਾਫੀ ਦਾ ਬੜਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਿਗਨੀਫੀਕੈਂਸ ਹੈਗਾ।
ਕਾਫੀ ਦਾ ਬੜਾ ਸਿਗਨੀਫੀਕੈਂਸ ਹੈਗਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ?
ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ।
ਕਾਫੀ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ।
ਕਾਫੀਆਂ ਗਾਈ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ, ਕਾਫੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੇਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਮੁxtਲਿਫ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਾਫੀਆਂ।
ਕਾਫੀ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ। ਦੇਖੋ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਸੱਚ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਆਰ, ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਅੰਗ 'ਚ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ। ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ।
ਅੱਛਾ।
ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ, ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਸੱਚ ਧਰੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਜੇ ਸੱਚ ਧਰੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ, ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਂਸ਼ੀਅੰਟ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ। ਇਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਪੂਰਵੀ ਮੇਲ ਕੀਤਾ। ਰੇ ਮਾਰਾ ਰੇ ਗਰ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ, ਰਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਮਾਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਔਰ 250 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਰਫਲੀ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ਨ 200-250 ਸਾਲ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰਵੀ ਮੇਲ 'ਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਗਾਣਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਕੇਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ 'ਚ ਇਹਦਾ ਮੁੱਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਗਵਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ। ਕਾਫੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਕ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਧੁਰਪਦਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਪਦਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਗਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ, ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ, ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ, ਕਾਫੀ ਅੰਗ, it somehow has gone out of vogue। ਧਨਾਸਰੀ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੱਡਾ, ਦੇਖੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ ਦਾ ਰਾਗ ਹੈ। ਕਾਨੜਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ ਦਾ ਰਾਗ ਹੈਗਾ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੀਆਂ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਕਾਨੜੇ ਦਾ ਔਰ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਦਾ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਮੇਲ ਹੈਗਾ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗੰਧਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਤੀਵਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਹ ਕਈ ਕਾਰਨਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਕਈ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਾਨੜੇ ਦੀ ਕੋਮਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਮਲਹਾਰ ਦੀ, ਮੀਆਂ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਦੀ ਤੀਵਰ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਾਪਾਧਾਸਾ ਪੈਂਟਾਟੋਨਿਕ ਹੈਗਾ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਐਂਸ਼ੀਅੰਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨੀ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਹੈ। ਪਾਤਖੰਡੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ, ਕੁਮਾਰ ਗੋਵਿੰਦਰ ਹੋਣੀ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਸਨ। ਪੁਰਸਕਾਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਸੀ। ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਰਹੇ, ਲਾਹੌਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਸਾ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਮਲਹਾਰ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਲਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਰੈਸਟ ਆਫ ਦ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਮਿਊਜ਼ਿਕ ਇਜ਼ ਫੋਰਗੋਟਨ। ਪੁਰਸਕਾਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਕੋਲ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਓਡੀਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਈ ਵਿਦਵਾਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ, ਲਾਹੌਰ ਔਰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਉਹ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਆਈ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਰਪਦੇ ਹਨਗੇ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ, ਦੁਪਦੇ, ਤਿਪਦੇ, ਚੌਪਦੇ, ਇੱਕ ਪਦਾ ਵੀ, ਔਰ ਫਿਰ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਵਿਦ ਤੀਵਰ ਗੰਧਾਰ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਫਿਰ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਇਨਵੋਕਡ ਦ ਮੀਆਂ ਤਾਨਸੇਨ, ਮੀਆਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, which is okay to have। I mean, ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਈ ਵਿਦਵਾਨ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ, ਉਹਦੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੀ ਵਾਸ ਫੇਮਸ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਕੁਝ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਸੱਚ ਇਉਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਰਾਗ ਦਾ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਅੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਾਣ ਦੀ ਰਵਾਇਤ ਵੀ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਕਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਯਾਰ ਫਲਾਣਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਅੱਛਾ ਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ, ਇਹ ਸੀ, ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਕਾਫੀ ਮੇਲ ਬਣਾਇਆ। ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭੈਰੋਂ ਮੇਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਮਲਹਾਰ ਗਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ। ਤਿਆਗ ਰਾਜਾ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਵੰਨਗੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਯਾਦ ਹੈ, ਮਾਇ ਗਪ ਮਾਰ ਸਾ ਹਰ ਜਨ ਬੋਲਤ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਹਰੀ ਜਨ ਬੋਲਤ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਮੇਲ ਹਰੀ ਤੋਰ ਹਰੀ ਜਨ ਬੋਲਤ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਹਰੀ ਧਨ ਬਨ ਜੋ ਹਰੀ ਧਨ ਸੰਚੋ ਜਿਸ ਲਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੋਰ, ਜਿਸ ਲਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੋਰ, ਹਰਿ ਜਨ ਬੋ ਚਾਦਗ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਤ ਦਿਨ ਰਾਤੀ ਸੁਨਗਨ ਹਰ ਕੀ घोर, जो बोलत है मृगमीन बघेरु सुबह नर जापत है नहीं ओर, नानक जन हर कीरत गाई छूट गयो जम का सब सूर, छूट गयो जम का सब सूर, हरि जन भो। This is the Shuddha Malhar of the Bhairav Meil, very rare, rarest of the rare.
Yeah.
And during my researches with Professor S.R. Janki Raman and Professor Ramanathan from the Carnatic Sangeet, I was shocked to discover that Tyag Raja sang in a Malhar of the Bhairav Meil.
Wow, I've never heard
they
that.
They were shocked कि एक दाढ़ी वाला ते पगड़ी वाला सरदार आएगा दरबार साहब की पंजाब की ट्रेडिशन तो ते ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਰਾਗ ਯਾਦ ਨੇ। ਭੈਰਵੀ ਮੇਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਨਾਸਰੀ ਤਿਆਗਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਕੰਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਦੀ ਪਰੰਪਰਾ। ਧਨਾਸਰੀ of the ਭੈਰਵੀ ਮੇਲ।
Sorry, I didn't hear.
ਧਨਾਸਰੀ in ਭੈਰਵੀ ਮੇਲ।
अच्छा, okay.
लगा है राम प्यारे, लगा है राम प्यारे, लगा है राम प्यारे, मेरा मन लगा, हाँ लगा है राम प्यारे। धनासरी of the Bhairav Meil। लगा है राम प्यारे, मेरा मन लगा, लगा है राम प्यारे, लगा है नीनी जानी दो बग, Ga ma pa da pa ga pa ma pa ga re sa sa. Tyagaraja.
Up to no one even sings Rag Bhairavi anyway.
What's your question? You were saying something earlier. I was singing. Haji.
My question was, what does it mean when you say this is in this male?
Okay. So
does that mean that there's certain flavor that
two old terms
are borrowed from the parent scale?
So there are two terms before the so-called Thaat system came. In the ancient times, there's nothing called Thaat. Male and Ang, there are two aspects. So, Kafi male is the entire scale. Ang is a limb. So, Devgandhari of the Asa male, or let me, I don't know, we are supposed to be talking about Hijrat, but we are journeying anyway across South Asia in terms of Rag Sangeet, which is, even to call it Hindustani Sangeet is a new term. It's an ancient system. Rag Sangeet hai.
Absolutely.
It's not. It's entire South Asiatic and even beyond. So let me give you an example of Devgandhari. Now, Devgandhari of the Bhairav male is one. Devgandhari of the Bhairav Ang is another. Same Rag. What is Devgandhari of the Bhairav male or Asavari male? Let's have a look at it, the Asavari male.
Okay.
Re ni za re ga ga ma ge re za re ga ga ma pa re ni ra va ma pa ge re za re ga ga ma ge re za re ni za re ga ma. The composition, Guru Arjan's original, late 16th century. Tera jan ram rasayan mata prem rasanid ja kaupaji. This is Asavari male Devgandhari. Now, Bhairav male Devgandhari. Hamai Gur Charani Chetlaya Mai Gur Charani Chetlaya Prabhu hoye kirpal kamal vardasi. Now Prabhu hoye kir mabadasa sadava mabadu dhavat dekho. Prabhu hoye kirpal kamal vardasi. Sada sada hridayaya. This is the Devgandhari of the Bhairav male. Now, Bhairav Angdi Devgandhari is different. Now, that is, it'll just take a limb of it, here or somewhere. In entire Devgandhari, you will see a very sparring use of the Komal Rikham in the higher octave.
Achha.
It's a classic composition, very rare. Taksaliyan cheez hai, bahut rarest of the rare Rababis and us, the Gursikhs, all those who studied with the Gurus directly. This is that information, that private information belonging to the Gurbani Sangeet. Duja nahi ko, duja nahi ko, मैं बाबिद पे क्यों नाहिरी को खांड दीप सब भीतर रवैया प्यारे जी खांड दीप रे सब भीतर रवैया प्यारे पूर रहो सब लोग दूजा नहीं को. That's it. That Ray Komal Rekha comes only. That's a Dev Gandhari of the Bhairav Ang. See, so these are the systems. Why would we ever think, or from a conservator's perspective, such riches for bankruptcy, for intellectual and artistic bankruptcy? Is not a promotion, it's not an enhancement, it's not evolution, it's devolution. These jokers, say, oh, change occurs, evolution. But this is not evolution, my lovelies. You're talking of evolution, you're calling it destruction. You're talking of decimation of our ancestral inheritance. So, I know you're a scholar. So I thought you are asked, but I could skirt away and just make a very superficial kind of a bypass. But this is the kind of conversation I was able to have with the parampara.
Right.
Such rich discourse I did not get with talking to ignorant contemporary composers. I mean, ignorant, they are learned, but they're ignorant about the history of the advent of knowledge.
The history.
To consume, to be a consumer, open up books, you can pick up a book and steal something. But in 1929, Hari Narayan Mukhopadhyay writes a book of Dhurpad's notation books in Varanasi. He says, I've never seen anybody learn music from a notation. 1929.
Absolutely.
He's writing.
Absolutely.
He says, I'm having to write at the insistence of several friends. That's my translation. He writes in Hindi. But he says that even if I'm writing with a caution that even if you're a master, you're a maestro singer, but to learn a new raga, you must go to a master who knows how to sing that raga. Learn that raga. Don't think you know 500 ragas that you will be able to decipher the 501st raga from a book. So that was the care that was even being, they were grappling with such issues. About, yes, it's important to codify. Yes, it's important to write down. You know what I found in that book? My grandfather used to sing a Tansen's Dhrupad in Rag Shri. But my grandfather died before he could pass that to me.
Oh, wow.
So I went around searching. I asked so many ustads and pandits. ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੁਣ ਧਰੁਪਦ ਗਾਣੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਿਆਲ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਠੁਮਰੀ ਦੇ ਟੱਪਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਕੱਛ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੜ ਕੇ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਕਿ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਸਮਾਨ ਛੂ ਲਿਆ. That's decimation of knowledge. To be bereft of knowledge, you're a bankrupt fellow. You may be very stylish, you may be a big star, but if you don't have the full information, please don't. You're limping. You're not walking on two legs. You're walking on one leg. One leg is of the parampara. Without that, that's the hindsight. So a generation born 50 years later, I'll be part of the history, for example, and my other contemporaries who've done responsible work. So that leg grows and loses but gains as in as time flows. But that's how you do. Contemporary and the tradition and the parampara and the memory is how you venture out. You tread into the future. That's how you walk into the future. And but anyway, I went around searching. Nobody remembered that Dhurpad, and I found flipping the pages through the dusty libraries. I found that Dhurpad of Tansen in Sri Rag in Tintal in the writings of Hari Narayan Mukhopadhyay. Who knows Hari Narayan Mukhopadhyay? Is he taught in? Is he a household name? No. It takes a Sardar a ruthless Sardar, merciless bum from Punjab, to dig out the dustbins of Varanasi and sift out a marvelous book of 160 compositions, and to quote that forward, one paragraph forward in his memory and pedagogy paper written for Routledge. That's like digging masters from their graves, making them alive again, recovering their names, like Bhagat Kamaram, like what you did to in the 21st century, in 2020, 21, to take the names of these masters who are long forgotten. That's a contribution in itself. You know, we can talk about music, recording, idda hui, mic ki sige, tara khadiyan sigiyan, tu neeli kameez kyo pai si, tu, you know, teri kangan jada paya si, o chitte rang da kyo nahi si, laal kyo si. I mean, you can talk about these, right? Nath vich ki si, te kan vich ki si, te guitar keda si vaj reha, o flane make da si. All of these can be had. But you look at the literary aspect of it, how the idea of journey is taking me as a listener across from Rabindranath Tagore to Bhagat Kamaram. That for me is a very moving journey that I'm having as a listener. Forget about everything else for a moment.
Yeah.
So, loki bhul jande ne ke ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਿਖਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਗਈਆਂ ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਾਦੇ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਲੱਭਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਪਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਕਲ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਉਹ 29 ਮਤਲਬ 90 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕਾਕਾ ਤੇ ਕਾਕੀਓ ਇਹ ਨੋਟੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਚੱਕਰ 'ਚ ਨਾ ਪੈ ਜਿਓ ਉਸਤਾਦੀ ਮੁਰੀਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਪੀਰੀ ਮੁਰੀਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਗ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਕਾਫੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਾਂ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਸਪੈਕਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੇਲ ਔਰ ਅੰਗ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਦੇਹਾਤੀ ਵਿਦਿਅਕ ਪ੍ਰਣਾਲੀਆਂ ਯਾਨੀ ਇੰਡੀਜਨਸ ਪੈਡਾਗੋਜੀਕਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਟਰਮੀਨੋਲੋਜੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਛੱਡਾਂਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਛੱਡਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅਮੀਰ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਗਰੀਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਰਾਗਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਐਨੀਵੇ ਤੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਵੇਰਾ ਆਦਮੀ ਆ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर ਸ਼ੇਅਰਿੰਗ that because of course I was curious also as a student of हिंदुस्तानी संगीत तो I thought कि मेरे लिए भी कुछ सीखने को है इसमें
मैं तो सपेरा आदमी हूं मैं एक बार वो खोलदा ना एक टोकरी खोलदा जी एक सप नहीं होंदा कई निकलदे ने विचों
in a bottle नहीं होंदा जीनी और निकल आंदा है जीनी ते फिर कहंदा what are your 3 wishes
अच्छा सुल्तान कह रहे हैं कि वजीहा नकवी जी आई एम इंट्रीग्ड बाय द ब्यूटीफुल पेंटिंग हैंगिंग ऑन द वॉल बिहाइंड यू who's the artist shed some light on it please no don't tell Sultan
again
that painting is by your mom that's Arfa and Sultan you see this logo here that's also Hijrat logo specially done by Arfa Naqvi, that's Wajiha's mom. Yes.
Actually, I want to maybe share that it was a deliberate effort to include my mother. I'm really, I'm fond of calligraphy. In
oh, you mean your mom insisted that she wants to be part of it, right?
Yes, so I insisted. She's done a few calligraphy courses, but she's not really a calligraphy painter or anything. She paints. She's done, like silk painting and watercolors and oil and all of that. And she's also not like a professional artist. She hasn't done this for some time. So I wanted her to apply her calligraphy skills and, create something. In Hijrat, again, the word in itself, I thought that my idea was that it would be nice to have it in that sort of calligraphic design. And so if you see even the logo, it says Hijrat. And so we, I have multiple pictures also of her brainstorming process because we came up with multiple designs. She said, ye acha hai, kaun sa acha hai, so we really had like a conversation around it. And this I thought really then eventually fit itself. Then it was transferred into a digital artwork. It was all hand painted and then वो सारा digitally transfer हुआ था. So Alif helped do that as well to create the digital version of the artwork.
I see.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was drawn by hand.
And thank you for telling me that you did that work and I was not part of that conversation. Ha ha. I mean, look at that. How can you do that work on your own without, having me? Or you wanted to keep it a secret, keep it private. That's like so bad. I'm trying to see if I can find the logo when I did that work. I can't.
I think because of Skype, it's not showing up, right? The logo here. Because we're using Skype.
ਲੱਭ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ. I was looking for the image that I did. But anyway, Bandeep was saying that to show your mom's calligraphy work, he was saying, please show your mom's calligraphic works. I was trying to look for it, Bandeep. But you see on Wajiha's name down on the bottom, on the other side, just above Wajiha's name, that's the calligraphy work. Or maybe I can do something. I can make it.
Maybe the sketch that you shared, it is there on the right.
So no, but I can do something. No, in this I can unblock it and make it large. This is. Oh, look at that. That'll be fun. Bandeep, dekh rahe hain? Bandeep ko dekh rahi hai.
I have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, you have no idea. You will have the idea later. Arfa, see what I'm doing with your daughters. Tera chand pura karta main. Dekh la.
Is my face on one side of
That's exactly the artwork? What I'm doing.
I figured when you use जब तुसी चंद दी गल कर रहे हो क्योंकि मैं ही हो सकती हूँ चंद और कौन हो सकता है?
ओए look at that. इन्ना भी परम ना पाल कुड़िए. ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਦਇਆਲੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਕੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਦੇਣ ਚ. ਅਸੀਂ ਬੜੇ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਖੁਦ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ.
Yes, that's lovely. So ਅਗਲਾ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਗਾਣਾ ਸੁਣਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ? ਕਿਹੜਾ ਰਹਿ ਗਿਆ
ਹੁਣ ਸਨੇ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿੱਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ. I guess
6 ਨੇ ਨਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ. We've done how many? We've done Bangla.
So we've done Pashto, we've done Persian, we've done Sindhi. The final one, which is Urdu, which is Yaqeen, which is my own composition.
And you mentioned about that you use Kabir Saab's
words. Kabir, Hanji.
Can you share the lyrics with us first before you go?
For the Kabir portion?
Yeah.
So basically, my song.
I mean the entire lyrics. Yaqeen, if you can share. Gaandya hoye ta aayega, but Kabir Saab da jada use kita.
हाँ जी. तो उन्होंने दी कविता है कि बंदे में तेरे मैं तो तेरे पास हूँ मुझको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे ना तीरथ में ना मूरत में ना एकांत निवास में ना मस्जिद में ना मंदिर में ना काबे कैलाश में मुझको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे मैं तो तेरे पास हूँ. So that's the little sort of portion that I used in my song and why I wanted to kind of मैंने अपना जो गाना है वो यकीन हो kind of राग जोग it inspired उस दे सुराज kind of उस दी melody compose कितनी सी से. So even if this portion is in the same sort of scale, but it's more like the Kabir portion is more like a spoken word. I'm narrating it. So maybe it wouldn't have that sort of effect here, I suppose. But in the song in itself, Yaqeen is about, it's a very personal journey of self-belief, Urdu mein jo maine likha hai, but it's basically कि I'm talking about not having gotten certain material things in life, and at the end I kind of turn to the Almighty and say okay, jab when you are with me to main kaise rahi tanha. That's kind of like the transition from the beginning. Tu na mila to kya buland hai iman mera, तुझसे नहीं जुड़ी हूँ खुद पर यकीन खड़ी हूँ मैं. That's kind of the mood of my song. And then the Kabir part comes into my conversation with my internal conversation with God, kind of reminding me that मैं तो तेरे पास रे, I'm here with you, I've always been with you. So search for me within yourself. So then the outro of Yaqeen kind of reaffirms my own belief, which is the way I had written it, is that, और हैं इम्तिहान राहतों के दरमियान, कौन हूँ मैं, मुझ में क्या, सदियों से है ये सवाल, रहते वो जो पास मेरे, and वो is him, फिर कैसे रही मैं तन्हा. So it's kind of reaffirming my own belief in that song of being connected to the Almighty. So with that, I'll just maybe sing a few lines of Yaqeen.
That's fantastic. Wonderful. Before we listen to this one, Sultan has a question which is to do with languages. I think it's very important. He's also grown. I mean, his dad, one of the finest bureaucrats India, maybe the world has produced, former India's permanent ambassador to UNESCO, Chiranjeev Singh IAS. So that Chiranjeev Singh, who's one of the founder trustees of Anād Foundation, he's a multilingual, speaks Arabic and Persian, etc., Sanskrit, and so on. So Sultan is, versed with the idea of languages.
Right.
He himself is a multilingualist. Uda sawal hai कि how hard is it for you to sing in Bengali? Did you find any difficulty in that? Or was it just natural?
No. Well, I would be curious for him to hear the Bengali one and kind of tell me what he thinks. I didn't find it to be very difficult and challenging. As I mentioned, I found Sindhi to be the most challenging for me. And Bengali, again, I made sure to hear a lot of Bengali music to be able to get a lot of the, certain dialects or certain pronunciations correct. So, I at least that was my effort in it. But Bengali I didn't find as challenging as I did Sindhi, I would say. I mean, of course, there's no way to compare it as such, but in the songs, in the languages that I did. Mm-hmm. So, in Bengali, in the Jodi, Aro, Kore, Bhalo, Basho, there's this, phonetically, I feel like there's this O sound that, one must kind of emphasize or keep in mind to keep the nuances of the language, right? So I felt like that was still something that I was able to do and be able to kind of pick up, as opposed to certain words in Sindhi or certain sounds in Sindhi, like the ba or the dha sound, the baj, which comes from, your baj is a bha sound, or the dadhi ahe, dingi. It's like a really difficult way to be able to even say that. So, yeah.
Right. So, Bandeep and others have said that the lyrics, when you shared, were not audible. The later part, would you kindly share the lyrics again before you sing the Urdu one, Yaqeen?
For yaqeen is तू ना मिला जो क्या बुलंद है ईमान मेरा तुझसे नहीं जुड़ी हूँ खुद पर यकीन खड़ी हूँ मैं हूँ वो इनकलाब लिखती खुद अपना निसाब बंदगी है नई मेरी खुद ही को खुद में ढूंढती हूँ मैं. So this is something that I wrote myself, and of course it's a lot about my own personal journey of self-belief, and that's where it is. Then in the middle is where I use the Kabir portion, which is bande moko kahan dhoonde re bande main to tere paas mein na tirat mein na murat mein na ekant niwas mein ना मस्जिद में ना मंदिर में ना काबे कैलाश में मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे मैं तो तेरे पास में. So that's again my journey of self-belief and kind of an affirmation from God is how I see it and why I included Kabir in my song. And in the end I come back to my own words. के और हैं इम्तिहान राहतों के दरमियान कौन हूँ मैं मुझ में है क्या सदियों से है ये सवाल रहते वो जो पास मेरे फिर कैसे हुई मैं तन्हा. So again it's kind of re-emphasizing my own journey, saying तू ना मिला तो क्या बुलंद है ईमान मेरा. मतलब मटीरियल चीज से अगर मेरी एक वाबस्तगी नहीं हुई तो that's okay, it's fine because I have him looking out for me always. So that was my sort of song that in Urdu that I have written and composed. ते ਹੁਣ सुना देवा
बिल्कुल absolutely, that would be fantastic.
तू तनादारिनु ना तू तनादारिनु ना तू ना मिला तो क्या बुलंद है ईमान मेरा तुझसे नहीं जुड़ी हूँ खुद पर यकीन खड़ी हूँ मैं हूँ वो इनकलाब लिखती खुद अपना निसाब बंदगी है नहीं मेरी खुद ही में खुद को ढूंढती हूँ मैं राज हूँ अंदाज हूँ खाको सबा हूँ मैं जाहिर हूँ नुमाया भी ढकी छुपी भी मैं ये जहां दास्तां हूँ मैं कहकशां हूँ मैं तू ना मिला तो क्या बुलंद है ईमान मेरा तुझसे नहीं जुड़ी हूँ खुद पर यकीन खड़ी हूँ मैं राग की मैं रागनी चाशनी भी मैं ये चमन फूल और कली चांदनी भी मैं ये जहां हूँ मैं दास्तां हूँ मैं कहकशां हूँ मैं तू ना मिला तो क्या बुलंद है ईमान मेरा तुझसे नहीं जुड़ी हूँ खुद पर यकीन खड़ी हूँ मैं. अच्छा, I'd also like to share इसमें हमने because it's in the scale is जोग का बड़ा एक bluesy सा एक feeling है in the western equivalent. So there's a part in this song in which we go into a 12-bar blues jam in which Jasir Abro, he plays the lead guitar. I'm sure you've noticed it as well. It's a classic 12-bar blues that we've incorporated, giving it a very modern sort of contemporary fusion feel, mixing like Eastern, Western sort of styles of music, which is again something that stylistically as an artist, something that I'm interested in, because I'm also would like to include contemporary music styles in personally as an artist. So that's something we did in this track also.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Compliments. Sultan writes, this is, my father speaks Bengali. That one I didn't know. That's so he would be a better judge than I. There was a slight accent, but that's understandable, he says. But very commendable, he says. And he says, beautiful song for the Yaqeen part. So what have I been up to? When you were singing, I had picked up my pen and I wrote this while I was chatting.
Oh, wow.
Mera yaar lakiron uddar. Meri yari lakiron idhar. Mera yaar lakiron uddar. Meri yari lakiron idhar. Lakire keher. Niri zahar. Kalesh har peher. Khanjar, Banjar, Ajeeb Manjar.
Ajeeb, sorry, what?
Ajeeb Manzar.
Ajeeb Manzar, right.
Is that the right use?
Your voice just broke off.
I see. Ajeeb Manzar. Theek hai, is that the right expression?
Yeah.
Labda haan, Amriti Langar. Labda haan Amriti Langar, Hum Sehra di Sangar. Bhagat Ravidas kehte ne ke jo hum sehri so meet hamara. He talks of the Begumpura Seher ko now, the city of worrylessness or sorrowlessness. Kehta mera o seher hai. Begumpura Seher ko now, dukh andol nahi ko thao. Ode ch na dukh hai na andol. Oda thai hai nahi. It has no space. There's no space for sorrow and pain. So, Akhir kehta jo hum sehri so meet hamara. So I've borrowed, I'm evoking Bhagat Ravidas here. Ke labda haan amriti langar, hum sehra di sangar, main lakira mitavanga, dukhant kalesh dafn karanga, sukh sant kheda baharanga, Allah hari hari dhyavanga. So,
wow.
Anyway, just say, thought that just came. It's just fresh.
Lovely.
It's the first draft. I don't know what will become of it. If at all anything becomes of that.
Line of control. We were just talking about the borders and
Lakira
and
is
crossing.
not just one lakir. Badiya lakira ne.
Bilkul.
Badiya lakira ne. Jadiya lakira kaiyan ne jabran mitaiyan ne. Kai lakira jabran lagaiyan ne. Kai lakira jabran mitaiyan ne. खोना ते लेना दो किस्म दियां चीज़ां ने ना. खोना ते खोना ते खोना. कईयां ने लकीरां खोईयां ने, कईयां ने लकीरां खोईयां ने. So like that. Anyway, so होर की खबर हैगी, होर की कोई खास गल दसेंगी जान तो पहला या मेरा हो गया क्लास दा वेला 9 बज गए ते मैनू गालां पै रहीआं होणीआं मेरे शिगिर्द कह रहे हैं
my headphones have given up on me. They've died. Battery has gone.
I mean, it's a pity that you carried less battery with you.
My battery died way earlier than my headphones.
Oh, really? You did look bored and stretched. Now I know why. Thank you.
Not at all. Not at all.
Thank you for the compliment. I take that as a compliment.
I'm glad.
So Arfa तेरी कुड़ी बड़ी नाक सड़ी है देख ला. उन्हें क्योंकि मैंने कहता कि battery I was like stretched. उन्हें मेरी जिन्होंने कहते she just said that she didn't like conversing. आ गया. ते देख ला खाली पन्ना भी आपे गिरे है. कहता इतने भी कुछ लिखो. Look at that. Well, thank you so much to you and everyone at A4 Aleph. And Aleph ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ pronounce ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ? A-L-E-P-H ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ? So it's pronounced as Aleph?
A-L-E-P-H. Aleph.
Aleph with an I, no? Not Aleph. It's Aleph. Like the alphabet.
Well, I've A-L-I-F भी लिखते हैं, but these guys write A.
Yeah, they write, but it's pronounced as Aleph only, ना? Okay.
Aleph, बिल्कुल.
अच्छा, वो सुल्तान की फरमाइश हैगी है, साडा बेली हैगा, सुल्तान की फरमाइश है कि पंजाबी गाना तो सुना दे। इन्नी पंजाबी की है।
Of course, how could I?
तू तो भज चली सी, उधर सुल्तान ने बेड़ी पाती, नहीं तो तू तो भज जाना सी।
मैंने कहा कि नहीं, इस दिन मैं आज ही सारे टेस्ट करांगा कि कुड़ी बोलती भी है पंजाबी कि एवें ही गला करती है।
नहीं, पर मतलब सुल्तान हाले तो तू मेरी तरफदारी कर रहे हैं, पर तुहाडी गलबात होगी ना शुरू गप्पा शप्पा ते तुसी गैंग अप मेरे खिलाफ करना है, जिवें ध्रुव कर रहा सी राती।
I must connect with him then.
Look at that.
We'll have something in common. अच्छा जी, पंजाबी बाबा बुल्ले शाह का एक बड़ा मशहूर कलाम है, तेरे इश्क नचाया। I would like to share that. छेती बड़ी वे तबीबा, नहीं ता मैं मर गईया। छेती बड़ी वे तबीबा, नहीं ता मैं मर गईया। तेरे इश्क नचाया करे थैया थैया। तेरे इश्क नचाया करे थैया थैया। छेती बड़ी वे तबीबा, नहीं ता मैं मर गईया। तेरे इश्क नचाया करे थैया थैया। क्या था आगे? तेरे इश्क ने डेरा मेरे दिल विच कीता। तेरे इश्क ने डेरा मेरे दिल विच कीता। भरिया जहर दा प्याला मैं ता आपे ही पीता। हो भरिया जहर दा प्याला मैं ता आपे ही पीता। जदों मारी सी अड्डी सानू मिल गया पिया। तेरे इश्क नचाया करे थैया थैया। Sorry, इतना ज़्यादा।
मतलब look at that, मतलब पंजाबी गाना एक तखीर च गाया, वो भी पुल के जान के पुल के गाया। मतलब मैनू लग रहा है कि साजिश कर रही है एंटी पंजाबी। मैनू हुण प्रो पंजाबी मूवमेंट चलानी पैनी है, तेरे घर दे बाहर ना धरना लवाना पैना पंजाबी मूवमेंट का। And Deepa is saying that you're full of love, Deepa Mehrotra. That's wonderful. Glad to see you here. And Bandeep is added, says Allah Hari Hari Dhyavanga te Nachanga Wang Kalandar. That's bilkul kyun nahi. I think there was a farmaish about somebody was asking, who was it? Arvind Johar. Oh yeah, that's lovely to see you, Arvind. Arvind, he's saying, do you like old Hindi movie songs? Would love to hear you sing one. Is there? I know that you're run out of steam. I'm late for class, but not a problem in the sense that my students are. They know how to. I think they must be watching anyway. Some of them at least.
Right.
Those who like to run away from the class, bunk maar dene jade ho, to watch rahe honge.
Watch rahe hon? I love that. This is a contemporary version of Punjabi. I can quickly just sing maybe a few lines from.
But there's a term, Vachana is an ancient term.
Vachana.
Vachana. Vachare honge is not English, yeah.
Vachana the ki matlab hai?
To watch.
Acha, really?
Sanskrit,
it's actually
Latin, I think Purane terms jante ne, kai akhar milte gilte ne.
Wow, acha, nice. So I'll quickly sing a few words, lines from this Talat Mahmood song, old song called Jalte Hain, jiske.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. Jalte Hain, jiske liye meri aankhon ke diye ढूंढ लाया हूँ वही आगे किसी something like that.
जी
ढूंढ लाया हूँ वही
हैं जिसके लिए जलते हैं जिसके लिए मेरी आँखों के दिए ढूंढ लाया हूँ वही गीत में तेरे लिए जलते हैं जिसके लिए दिल में रख लेना इसे हाथों से ये छूटे ना कहीं दिल में रख लेना इसे हाथों से ये छूटे ना कहीं गीत नाजुक है मेरा शीशे से भी टूटे ना कहीं गुनगुनाऊंगा यूं ही गीत में तेरे लिए चलते हैं जिसके लिए तेरी आँखों के दिए ढूंढ लाया हूँ वही गीत में तेरे लिए जलते हैं जिसके लिए
क्या बात है वाह वाह वाह
That's it.
That was nice. So do you like Talat Mahmood's work? Is it a particular
I like his I really like his style of singing and his voice. I think it's very unique, very innocent, very genuine. His delivery was very sweet. So I am fond of his. I am fond of his songs. Anji.
That's wonderful. And everybody is thanking you for for the farmaish. Sultan has thanked you for his farmaish as well, and everybody else.
Thank you so much for listening and for sticking around, and for you as well, BBS. I mean, thank you for always putting in so much effort and love, and you've always been very generous and so supportive. So I'm very I feel very honored and blessed to actually be a part of this again.
My pleasure, really. And it's mera farz hai. Duja hai ki if you can kindly share with everybody about where all have you posted it. I mean, it's available on Spotify. Can you kindly give some of the technical details? If you want to thank the team, you can shout out. I did yesterday, but it would be great for you to map that as well. Yeah,
you did. I'd like to just, of course, thank all the musicians that have been part of it. So Jasir Abro, Aziz Qazi, Irfan Khan, Umair Dar. They all were part of it with me in the band, in the performance. The performance, you can see the video as well, because it's a live studio set of Hijrat. We recorded it all together. So you can see that on YouTube. If you want to listen to the audio, it can be streamed on many digital platforms. So Spotify is one of them. It's also on Apple, it's on Deezer, it's on Saavn, it's on Bandcamp, it's on Tidal, Amazon Music, Napster. So I suppose people have different platforms that they use. So that it's on all of those. It's been produced by A4Alif Records, which is also part of A4Alif's record label. So it's a music production studio as well as a record label company. And produced by Umair Dar. Jasir Abro has helped, he's done the music arrangements for it. And there's a whole video and audio team, including Danial Panjwani, Irfan Ali Taj, Ayaz, Osama Siddiq, Ahad Hussain. So, I mean, it's a collaborative effort with lots of people involved. Of course, with the translations, I attempted to translate these in English, and it's all available on YouTube. You can see the video with the English translations of each song. And I apologize in advance if people think I may not have done justice to the pronunciation of certain languages, but please do give me feedback and share, and I'd love to listen and hear, and stay connected on my Facebook page. Tribal Gulabo is my stage name. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Please do stay in touch and do share your thoughts. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so Sultan says that about the term Vachana, he says, Vachana means to read carefully, says my father. So I have since dug out Paikan Singh Naba's dictionary, Mahan Kosh. I mean, it's an encyclopedia.
Vachana.
Vachana. Watch or bach, like Kabyo bach is bach is. So I'm sharing that we've spoken about watch or vachana. So ਉਹਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ Paikan Singh Naba in the early 20th century what he writes. Watch the Sangya's literal meaning is Bani, is Vani. Kathan, Pasha, Boli. Saraswati da भी नाम है. Bolan the Indri, the ang with which we speak. देखो कहते हैं वाच्य, वाच उपासक लख्यत सोई. And then he says Punjabi ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਚਕ ਦੀ ਥਾਂ भी वाच शब्द ਵਰਤੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਵਾਚਕ ਦੀ ਬਜਾਏ. And then he says ਵਾਚਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਥਕ ਹੈ, ਕਥਕ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਥਕ ਕਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ. ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਕਥਕ ਗਾਣਾ ਨਾਚ ਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਦਰਅਸਲ ਉਹ ਕਥਾ ਤੋਂ ਆਇਆ. ਕਥਕ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਵਾਚੇ, ਵਾਚਕ का कथक जो ਕਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ. ਪੜਨ ਵਾਲਾ, ਵਾਚਨ ਵਾਲਾ. ਸੁਤ ਵਾਚਕ भयो ਬੁਲੰਦੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਣ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ. ਸੰਗਿਆ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦਾ ਅਸਲੀ ਅਰਥ ਵਾਚਨਾ, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ read carefully. What he is referring to is literally is this ang of that meaning, which is shabad da asli arth, what it actually means. And it also means upama is also praise. And then वाचना, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ मैं वाचन या वाचना कहते ਸੀ, पढ़ना कथन करना, पढ़ के सुनाना. वाचा है पुस्तक वेद पुराना, पर वाचा again is to read, ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਰਥ ਕਰਨਾ. वाचा is also ਬਾਣੀ, व्याख्या is वाचा, ਉਹਦੀ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਨੀ, ਉਹਦੀ ट्रांसलेशन करनी. वाचाई is वाचन करवाई, पढ़वाई. वाचाई बड़ा. वाचार्थ is वाच्य अर्थ, शब्द ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਸਿੱਧ ਅਰਥ. famous, what is it, known for. ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਆਮ ਫਹਿਮੀ ਕੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਅੱਖਰ ਬਾਰੇ. ਲੱਖ ਰੂਪ ਵਾਚਾਰਥ ਜਾਸ ਕਹੇ. and then ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰਤਾਪ ਸੂਰਜ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਲਿਖਦੇ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਲਕਸ਼ ਅਤੇ ਵਾਚਯ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਈ ਵਾਚਯ is another very interesting word. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਵਾਚਾਲ ਕੌਣ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ? ਬਾਤੂਨੀ, ਟਾਕੇਟਿਵ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੱਪਾਂ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਮਾਰੇ. ਟਾਕੇਟਿਵ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ. ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਬੜਾ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਆਦਮੀ ਹਾਂ.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਵਾਚਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗੱਪਾਂ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਤੇ ਵ੍ਰਿਥਾ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਬਕਵਾਦੀ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਕਵਾਸ ਮਾਰੇ ਉਹ ਵਾਚਾਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ that's another meaning ਫਿਰ ਵਾਚੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਬੋਧ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਗਿਆਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਲਮ ਦਵੇ ਬੋਧ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਤਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਨਾਵੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੱਬ ਕਰੇ ਸੂਚਕ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵਾਚਣਾ ਕਿਰਿਆ ਦਾ ਭੂਤਕਾਲ ਵਾਚੀ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਪਾਸਟ ਟੈਂਸ ਇਸਤਰੀ ਲਿੰਗ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਉਸਨੇ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਵਾਚੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਵਾਚ ਵਾਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸੰਗਿਆ ਸੰਕੇਤ ਰੂਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦਾ ਠਹਿਰਾਇਆ ਅਰਥ ਕਿਆ ਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਜੈਸੇ ਘੋੜਾ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਛੁਪਾਏ ਪਸ਼ੂ ਦਾ ਬੋਧ ਕਰਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਾਣੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਪਾਦਨ ਕਰੀਏ ਈਸ਼ਵਰ ਵਾਚ ਹੈ ਸਰਵਗਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਪਾਦਨ ਵਰਣਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਦੂਸ਼ਣ ਕਿ ਬਿਆਨ ਕਰਨ ਲਾਇਕ ਦੋਸ਼ ਯੋਗਯ ਨਿੰਦਣ ਲਾਇਕ ਵਾਚਿਆ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਇੰਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਅਰਥ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਊੜਾ ਐੜਾ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਂਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਵਾਚ ਅੱਖਰ ਦੇ ਭਾਈ ਕਾਹਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਭਾ ਦੇ ਅੱਖਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਛਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ 35 ਵੀ ਵੈਸੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਹੈ ਕਾਹਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਭਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ 35 ਚੋਂ so ਅੱਜ we have remembered talking of hijrat we've again gone to early 20th century one of the most extraordinary encyclopedic journeys in which he has codified the language is also something that we
right true
so anyway compliments to you you're on Spotify as well so I'll ask everyone to look for it I think the live is on Aleph A4 Aleph Records ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ YouTube page ਹੈਗਾ the one that you sent me 30 minutes is that available there
I can send a link as well if you want to maybe put it on
yes why don't you do that
your page and I could just share it with you and people can see where all it's
a wonderful
available.
idea yeah let's do that
yeah
if Umair is there maybe you can share it Umair why don't you share your link as well or if not then if you've gotten bored and left the court I understand it's okay I know that you would have spent time chatting with me but you were bored with Gulabo yeah I know
I'm just sharing it with you, the link, which has all the links to all the streaming platforms, video and audio.
Okay.
So video is obviously on YouTube.
Super.
So I'll just send it to you so that,
that
you can
it to me
share
on,
one link.
Can you send it here on Skype in the chats?
Yes, I'm just trying to do that.
I see.
If the internet cooperates a bit.
And what's your next project which is going on? Are you working on something already or is it a secret or?
It is, it is, yes, it is a secret right now.
Would you like to expose your secrets? Secret project that you're up to?
Not at all.
No?
Not at all.
Come on.
But I would like to actually, BBS, from you, get some, research on, some of the tracks or some of the artists, like Lolan Fakir is one that I want to explore further, read about further, that I can maybe, do in volume 2 of Hijrat. Because as I mentioned, this is something I would want to continue to document. So
absolutely.
I, perhaps would like to share that please do share with me if you think that there are poets and figures that, we in South Asia should really kind of look to preserve and document. Of course, there's so many to choose from. Again, the idea is I don't want to my attempt in this first time, I'm not trying to like over intellectualize it either. Like Gugush's song is a fairly popular music kind of a track. I really like its poetry, and it's, it resonates in that sort of sense. But it's a light-hearted song. But there are, of course, a lot of, very spiritual, mystical poetry that's included as well as part of Hijrat. So it's a bit of both.
Right.
I've just shared.
I've shared it too. So, folks, you will see in the comments, I've just shared the link for Hijrat Wajiha Naqvi, and you will find all the concerned connections there. So, thank you so much, Wajiha. Friends, I'm so glad that you could all join in today. And this was the part 2 of the 173rd Mēlā with singer, songwriter, and music researcher Wajiha Ather Naqvi. And she, of course, has been sharing about her new project, Hijrat, which is a musical journey across South Asia. And she has joined live from Karachi. She has an academic background in cultural anthropology after completing undergrad at Lahore University of Management Sciences, or otherwise known as LUMS. She attended New York University to complete a Master of Arts through the Falak Sufi scholarship, focusing on South Asian Islamic music. Naqvi sang gigs and concerts throughout her academic studies. When she returned back, ever since she's been back, she's been active in the development sector, working with civil society organizations devoted to peace building through cultural programs. And she did exactly that by excluding Punjabi. And see, there was a lot of peace building between me and her. And we were literally fighting like claws and.
You also said she's been acting, and I said that's not too far from the truth.
Well, she's also served as visiting faculty at the Szabist University and the Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture. For the past 4 years, she's been studying North Indian classical music under Rauf Saami and his father, Ustad Naseeruddin Saami. And Coke Studio, Pakistan, has had her as one of their backing vocalists, as well as in a leading capacity under Rohail Hyatt. So thank you all for joining today and listening to all that I had to say and bearing with all that, Travel Gulabo had to mutter.
The technical delay in the beginning.
Technical delay. But you took like 2 hours just to put your lipstick on. Come on.
Of course.
Therefore the delay.
We have. I'm gonna leak out secret information about why we were delayed today, and it's really not my fault.
Look at that. कोई अपना इल्जाम किसी दूजे ते थोपना ते तेरे तो सीखे. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
so
Baldeep ji.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I always learn from you. Every time there's something new to learn from, so I'm really thankful for that. And I admire your patience and your really passion to be able to continue and do these Baiṭhaks. I don't think I know anyone who would be able to do it the way you do it.
That is really worthy of admiration. Yes.
Such zeal and such ardor and such jazba. So that's very admirable.
My pleasure, really. Thank you and all the best. Yeah?
Thank you. Stay in touch. Hafiz. Namaste.
Yes.
Satyakal.
So friends, that was my conversation with Wajiha Ather Naqvi, aka Tribal Gulabo. Tomorrow I'll be in conversation with Dr. Maneet Kaur. She has a very, very exciting background in embroidery. We've been speaking with many folks who are men and women of letters, of architecture, to photography, to so much else. But we'll be talking to someone who's done a PhD in design on the evolution of motif and color of ikat in Gujarat, Orissa, and Andhra Pradesh, from and design department, Kala Bhavan Vishwa Bharati Shantiniketan, and she's done a lot of work. She's the master of the needle and the thread. I will be in conversation with her tomorrow, and I'll be sharing the poster and the links later tonight. And I hope that you will take time out from 4:30 p.m. onwards tomorrow. And I'll see you then, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and Sunday evening, of course. Khuda Hafiz, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Namaskar, very good night, Sat Kartal.